This conference will now be recorded.
The recordings, let's get started. Hey folks, this is Sharad. So a quick introductions about me. We are from, let me just see if I can able to turn on my camera. Just give me a sec. I don't think so I can. 1 second. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, anyway, I guess I cannot. Okay, anyway, let's get started. Here we go. Hey folks, yep. So this is Sharath. I will be your host for the next 2 hours. Welcome to Cytron Technologies. My name is Sharath. I'm a founder and CEO of Cytron Technologies. So what we do is you can learn more about us in a website. I mean, if you go to www.cytrontech.com, you can come to know about us. So anything related to AI, right? It can be AI and a cloud, MLOps. We are the best peoples outside in the market. So especially as a trainer, so I helped more than 5,000 plus professionals like you who want to get into AI industry and getting in a better positions in the leadership positions in AI. So yes, with the best peoples outside in terms of AI and MLOps, just Google it, you'll get more answer about us. So let's get started with our program today without wasting much of our time. So thank you so much for making your time for this awesome demo session. So this demo is going to be for next 2 hours, as we discussed. Let's say what we're going to do in this next 2 hours. So we will be discussing about these 3 things. So what is really MLOps is all about, and what it takes for you to master to become a specialist in MLOps, and how does a career opportunity is going to look like in terms of MLOps. So those are the 3 things that we'll be revolving around actually. Okay, so before we getting started, before we trying to understand more about this specialization program, when it's going to start and more details, so I would like to understand more about you folks. Obviously I know that where you guys are joining from, but it's good to know that what kind of an audience that we do have in a platform today, so I can able to set my threshold accordingly in my brain, so I can start delivering the content accordingly. Okay, so probably you might be a working professional, you might be a data scientist, DevOps engineer, ML engineer, you might be a student. So let's try to understand. So please go ahead and use your chat window, try to describe. If you're a student, you can just say you're a student. If you're a data scientist, just say data scientist. And if you're an ML engineer or DevOps engineer, just to mention what kind of a job that you are really working on. So that would really help me to feed the content properly for you guys. Okay, so here we go. Ganga says he's administrator for 30 years. Shubham says he's a data scientist and AI enthusiast. Hey Shubham, thanks for joining. Surya says he's a student. Just go ahead and use your chat window, try to describe. So here we have Lavanya from DevOps. Hey Lavanya, thanks for making your time. Prashant from DevOps Engineering. Thanks Prashant. Ali from Web Developer. Hey Ali, thanks for joining. Here we have some data engineers. Rams, she says he's a DevOps engineer. So someone from 10 years of experience in electronics engineer. Armesh is a data analyst. Srinivas is a DevOps engineer. So go ahead, try to describe what kind of a role that you guys are playing, what kind of a work that you do, right? Let's get started with our program. So here we have Moj Sharif says, I'm a data scientist now trying to learn LLM ops. That's perfect. So Ranjit says, student looking for DevOps opportunity. Then we have Balji, okay, Kalyan. So yeah, so says data scientist and AI. So we have some data scientist, Uman, sorry, sorry. Okay, so thank you so much for mentioning your role. Please go ahead and mention in case if you haven't mentioned it. So let's get started without wasting much of your time. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, let's make a promise. Okay, let's make a very simple promise. The promise to sit for next 2 hours. I mean, dedicating this to us, does it really going to add up any bright light to your life? Definitely yes. In case if you are a candidate, want to be a creator along with you want to be a consumer of this AI tomorrow in this world, simply do you want to rule this world? I mean, being in the highest paying positions outside in the job industry, definitely yes. Yep. So let's get started. So before we getting started, okay, this is where I want to start. Like say, whatever the trainings that we do is we'll be getting started with this beautiful picture. Okay, so I mean, what is this picture? Is this somewhere related to what we are going to talk about today in terms of MLOps? Definitely yes. But okay, here is a very simple question. So I want you folks to take maybe 5 to 10 seconds. Try to observe this particular picture. It's a task for you actually. So go ahead, try to observe this particular picture and try to describe this picture in the chat window. So what do you think this picture is about? So what kind of objects that you could able to find in this particular picture? Go ahead and describe this in a chat window. What is this picture is about? What does it looks like? So do you like it or not? So just go ahead and describe it in a chat window. Let's see how you going to describe this particular picture actually. Okay, so just taking a confirmation from you folks. I believe, yeah, my screen is visible and my audio is clear enough. Okay, that's perfect. I'm getting a chat answers from a chat. That's an acknowledge. So here we go. Here we go. Ankit says there are trees, dogs, people's walking. That's good. That's an awesome description. Jai says dog walking in a park. That's awesome. Manoj says okay. Prasanna says garden, make females, animals, dogs. That's awesome description. Okay, so we definitely know that this is a picture of a park, right? There's no doubt about it, right? So this is a beautiful picture of a park. We can see a lot of dogs in this particular park. So not just one breed of dog, but you can able to see a different breeds of dog. This is a different breed. This is a different breed of a dog, and you can able to see a dog which is carrying the ball in his mouth. And we can see there's a man, obviously there's a woman, and there's a lot of people sitting, and there's a path where we can walk, and there's a lot of trees outside, right? But that's not a question that I would like to ask, but my question is a bit different. The question is this: how do you know this is a picture of a park? You said there are dogs. This is a dog. Even I say it's a dog, but how do you know this is a picture of a dog? So why can't this be a cat? Why can't this be a lion or a tiger? How come this is a dog? Who taught you this? Okay, so answer this question. Let's do one thing. Let's say I'm going to take a same picture. Okay, I'm going to take a same picture. I'm going to display the same picture to this newborn baby. Okay, do you think a baby could able to recognize the same exact things that you could able to recognize? Can a baby describe it's a picture of a park, it's a path, it's a tree, it's a dog? Definitely not, right? So, but barely a newborn baby could able to recognize his mother and a father, but apart from that, a baby doesn't know anything else, right? What if we go to the next step, if I go ahead and display this particular picture to this maybe a grown-up child, a bit grown-up child, right? So yes, this grown-up child could able to start recognizing the things, right? So, okay, what's the deal? What am I really talking about here, right? What we today really talk about AI, it's nothing but the artificial intelligence. So we are the best examples, right? So we are the examples of AI today. So how is that, right? So consider that we are a biological machines and a newborn baby which is born with an empty brain, and consider that we started learning things. We started learning things from our parents. Our parents are first teachers, obviously. We started learning things from books. We started learning how to walk, recognizing people's, right? When the person grows, when he becomes a kid, he will be started learning physics, chemistry, biology, blah blah blah, right? So then he'll be going for high school or a college. Then he might get a degree. Then he might start working. Then he might become a senior person. So what happens in every point of a time in your life, you will be keep on learning things. By learning things, you can eventually get better in making decisions. I mean, you could able to make a decisions for your future, isn't it? So you could able to make a predictions, right? So because, and one more good example that I would like to provide. So you decided to spend your valuable 2 hours with me, believing that so this 2 hours is going to be really important for you, where I can try to add a more value for you in terms of understanding what the AI is going to look like for the next 5 to 10 years, and why the operation side of ML or AI is going to be really important. How you can be part of it. You want to know that. That's why you're here. You could able to make a decision for that. So consider that the entire growth cycle of a human being, right? So I mean, so let's say the kind of a knowledge that we learn in every day, so it's exponentially grows up, isn't it? So we exponentially learn the things. Our learning curves still goes up, right? So we are the best examples of AI today. So where we could able to learn the data and where we could able to make a decisions and predictions, we want to teach the same exact things to this dumb machines. Today, human beings are trying to teach the same kind of a data that we have learned and where we could able to make a decisions. We want these machines to do that job instead of us, right? That's where we are, right? So consider that when I'm talking about we want to teach this data to these machines. What is the data? What's the format of it? What kind of a data it is? Consider that as a human beings, you can able to consume, like we can able to consume a data in many different fashions, right? So one is your eyes. Visually, you can able to consume the content. I mean, you can able to see my screen. You can able to consume. You can able to try to understand what kind of an object it is. You consume a content through your eyes, and we consume the information, the data through your ears. You can hear the things. You can hear my voice. Right? and you can able to consume data through your nose. You can smell the things. By smelling at things, you can able to recognize what it is. You can smell biryani. You know what? How does a biryani smells like? You can smell the curd rice. Obviously, we don't want it. We want to breed a biryani. So I mean, I'm just kidding. But as a human beings, we consume our data in many different ways. We can consume our data through our sense, by touching things, by feeling things, right? There's multiple fashions, right? Similar to that, a machine can also consume a data in multiple fashions. We'll talk about that in detail. But let's talk about this. Let's say I want to teach some data to this machine. So let's say I'm going to take some kind of a data. Let's say it's a CSV file, for example, right? It's a CSV file. So what do I have in this CSV file? Let's say I have this CSV file has around 30,000 data points. I mean 30,000 rows, and this data is worth of 3 years. I mean these are 3 years of data. So the ultimate goal for me is pretty much simple. I want to take this data, I want to teach this data to this machine. But anyway, what is this data is about? Let me just try to describe it. So this data is actually an electricity data of your home. How much electricity you consume, how much bills that you pay, I have all these details. That's what I collected. Let's say it has the informations like how much voltage that you consume, how much current that you consume, how much bills that you might have paid in previous years, I mean last 3 years. So I have all this data. So my goal is pretty much simple. I want to take this data, I want to teach this data to this machine. So I'm teaching the data. Then at the end of the day, it's going to produce something called a machine learning model after learning all this data. So this machine learning model is going to be part of final end product. Yep. So then once I have this machine learning model, I can ask this model to make some decisions or forecasting, anything that you want. Let's say in this perspective, I'm going to ask this ML model to make a forecast. So now it has understand everything from my electricity data. It has a knowledge of how does my 3 years electricity consumption looks like, how much bills I might have paid, how does your electricity consumption looks like in summer, how does your electricity consumption looks like in a winter, and maybe in a spring, or maybe in a rainy season, whatever, right? So now I can ask this ML model to make a forecast for the next 6 months, how much electricity bill I'm going to pay. So what's the first month bill is going to look like, what's the second month bill is going to look like, and what's the 6 month bill is going to look like. It can able to make a forecast. Just imagine that it can able to predict how much electricity bill that you're going to pay in the future. Just imagine such kind of a use cases in big MNCs and big organizations. Just imagine how much money they can able to save in terms of, okay, if they know how much electricity they're going to consume, right? This is one of a problem statement that you can solve. The problems that you can solve with AI is endless. Use cases are everywhere. So consider that, let's say for example, let's say here I want to teach a difference between, let's say the pictures of a dogs and cat. Let's say I'm going to take bunch of pictures of cats, and let's say I'm going to take a bunch of pictures of dogs, for example, right? So let's say I'm going to teach the difference between the cat and the dog, right? So what we call it as computer vision. So anything that we want to do in terms of pictures, images, and videos, right? So let's say I'm going to teach the difference between the cats and dogs, then it's going to produce a machine learning model. So then consider that I'm going to put a camera in front of my machine. So then I'm going to put a cat in front of my machine. So then my machine is going to predict, so I got a cat in front of my camera. So what we call it as computer vision. So today you do have face recognition systems in your phone, right? Every phone has a face recognition system to unlock your phone. So consider that, similar to that, what we call it as object detection, right? So or maybe celebrity recognition, recognizing a celebrities, or maybe recognizing a terrorist in a city. So again, the kind of a problem that you can solve is endless. Or let's say I want to teach the large amount of data in the internet, right? So maybe for natural language processing, the advance of natural language processing today, what we're talking about, large language models like ChatGPT today. So creators of ChatGPT, they might have scrapped the complete internet, they might have taught the complete internet data to the machine, and now machine can do a lot of things, right? We can use ChatGPT today for writing stories, summarizing your documents, and maybe writing a code, and it can do endless of things today, right? So the problems that you can solve is endless. But the question is, what it takes to create a bare minimal typical workflow for building your ML model. I mean, typical workflow for creating a successful ML model. So here we are talking about what's a minimum requirement for building an ML model, but not the complete MLOps that I'm talking about, but what's a bare minimal requirements. First, we'll be getting started with a data. Similar to human beings, Let's say we consume a data in many different types. Similarly, a machine can also consume a data in many different types. So consider that your data can be a picture, or your data can be a CSV document, it can be a JSON document, it can be a text document, right? So what is the first step in a workflow? So what do? The first step in a workflow, we call it as a data preparation. So what do we do in a data preparation side? So data preparation is similar to what you do in your kitchen in every day. Yes. So consider that what you do, let's say if you want to prepare your favorite recipe of a food. So what we do first thing, we go to the market, we buy some vegetables, right? And then we come back to home, then we started cleaning these vegetables, remove unnecessary stuff, then you started putting a masala, ingredients, and then you start preparing your favorite recipe, right? So that's what exactly we do in a data preparation. So let's say the real-time data from your customers that comes with a lot of garbages in it. It will have something called outliers. It will have a missing values. A lot of rows might be empty. So here comes our data engineers or data scientists. They will be taking this data, cleaning it, preparing it, and transforming it if it is necessary. That's what we do in a data preparation side. So then comes experimentation side. So model building is an experiment. So here you cannot build the best ML model in one single shot. It's an experiment. Experiment is something that we do more than once, right? So here we use IDEs like VS Code. It can be Jupyter notebooks. So where our data scientist is going to write some code. For example, it can be a Python code. So why he writes a code? Is that coding is necessary? Yes, definitely, because what's the game that we are playing? So we have a data. We want to teach this data to a machine. But here, by writing a Python script, here our data scientist is going to specify what kind of a machine are we going to use. So whether we are using a CPU-based machine or GPU-based machine, right? A machine can be different. So whether we're going to use CPU-based machine or GPU-based machine, so we're going to specify that. Then where is your data is coming from? So whether you have a data in your computer, whether you have a data in your server, whether it's in Google Drive, some cloud storage, where it is, we specify all those informations here. So when it comes to the data, we split the data into multiple types, because we won't be teaching a complete raw data to the machine. We split the data into multiple types. We keep some amount of a data for training. Let's say I keep 70% of data to train my machine. I keep remaining 30% of data to test my machine, right? So what I'm going to do in the next step, so by executing this code, I'm going to take this training data, I'm going to teach the data to a machine. So machine now tries to understand the data, the patterns from it. So then once the training is done, I'm going to take the test data, I'm going to test my machine with that test data. And the test results that you're going to get, let's say if you're completely satisfied with that, if the quality of a model is good, then you'll be using something called model registries. So what is this model registries? So model registries are a dedicated tools that we use in order to version your ML models. So consider that throughout the life cycle of building any ML project, you won't be producing only one ML model. You'll be definitely producing multiple versions of your ML model. So we'll be using model registries to version your ML model. Maybe you have version 1, version 2, you might have version 3, n number of versions you might have. Will be registering all those versions of your ML models in a model registry. Then comes what? Once you have let's say you consider that I have a best version of model. Let's say I will consider version 3 is my best. So then I'll be taking a version 3 of my model, then I will go ahead and deploy it to the production, or maybe the multiple environments I might have. But here, consider that in terms of deploying your ML model, and organizations might follow different strategies. Maybe I want to deploy my ML model to a Docker platform. Maybe I want to deploy my ML model to the Kubernetes infrastructure, or I want to deploy my ML model to the real-time endpoint on the cloud, or maybe to the batch prediction, or I want to deploy to my IoT devices, or I want to deploy it on your mobile phones. So the kind of deployments they want to do is going to be really different. So consider that in this architecture, let's say I'm Dockerizing my ML model. So I'm converting my ML model to Docker, and then I'm going to deploy it on a Docker platform. So once I have my ML model deployed on a Docker platform, then comes our developers. So our developers, they're going to create a beautiful web applications or Android applications. So where we're going to use these applications to invoke an ML model that is deployed in a production, or maybe the staging environment, whatever you have. So this could be a minimal requirement of creating a workflow for building your ML model. But this is not the complete MLOps. But still, what is this MLOps is all about? So here, multiple stakeholders comes into the picture. We do have data engineers, we do have data scientists, we have ML engineers, then we have MLOps engineers. Let's discuss more about it. Okay, saying that, so we know that here comes our data scientists or data engineers. In order to build this ML model, they will be using various different programming languages. It can be Python, or it can be R, JavaScript, or C++ even is possible, or without writing any code. Also, it's possible today. There are platforms like that. But the question is unanswered still. What is MLOps is really about? So where does MLOps really fits in? To understand this, we need to understand the current state of machine learning in this entire world. So what do you mean by the current state of machine learning? So what every organizations today they're doing, what's the stage they are in today? So to understand this, let's go to last 10 years ago. Let's do some time traveling. Let's get into the time travel machine and let's get back to the 10 years ago. Okay, I'm just kidding. Time travel is not possible. But let's imagine, let's say we are going back to last 10 years ago. I mean, early 2010 or maybe early 2005, 8, that particular stage we are talking about. Let's say at that particular time, let's say every organizations across the world, they have an access to data. There's no doubt about it. But they have no idea what they're going to do with that. So that's why they started hiring data engineers and data scientists, someone who can able to build an ML models only. So the focus for every organization's last 10 years ago, they're building ML models, but they're not operationalizing their ML models to production. They're just making a prototype. They are not getting into the production. They're not making any money off it. They're not reaching to their customers. But today, we're talking about end of 2023, till date, you can see across this world, 53% of organizations who is building POCs, now they are getting their ML models to production. It takes an average of 9 months for every organization to reach that. I mean, 53% of organizations, they started building an automation to deliver their ML models to production. And by end of 2024, let me repeat, it's not next 5 years ago, I'm talking about by end of this year itself, you will see 75% of organizations across the world, they will be started shifting their ML models to production. How can you get a model to production? The question. So if you have an automation for that, you need an automation to deliver your ML models to production. That's where MLOps comes into the picture. What is MLOps? MLOps is a set of practice for collaboration and communication between the different stakeholders who are part of building an ML project. So who are the stakeholders? Who are the people who are involved in this? Different peoples, obviously, right? So there are data engineers, data analyst is there, data scientist is there. Data scientist is someone who builds an ML model. Then we have ML engineers. ML engineers are basically someone who's go ahead and takes a model and deploys it, the model to the production. Then comes MLOps engineers, someone who builds the pipeline, someone who deploys the infrastructure, maintains the infrastructure, who builds an automation. So MLOps is all about collaboration and communication between these peoples. So MLOps is an automation. So when we apply this automation, we can able to increase the quality and simplify the management process of how you build, train, deploy your ML models to production. So as we're talking about, putting it in a very simple layman terms, MLOps is all about building an automation to deliver your machine learning models or deep learning models to the large scale production environment. That's what exactly the MLOps is all about. So saying that, let's try to understand MLOps motivation in a high level view. So as we know that MLOps is a discipline that sits intersection between various domains. So it's an intersection between a machine learning, the DevOps and data engineering, what we call it as MLOps. So that's why MLOps is not only for a data scientist or DevOps engineer, it's for all the people who are part of this particular stakeholder. It's for data engineer, data analyst, ML engineers, DevOps engineers also. So let's say this intersection of practices when they are coming together, right? It really drives a value in how you build, deliver, and manage your machine learning models. So as an MLOps, as a discipline, if you want to implement this kind of a disciplines, it cannot be done without having people's or maybe technology or a process in the loop. So once we have people and technology and process, then only we can able to implement this kind of an automations, definitely, right? Saying that, let's get in the interesting part. Let's talk about the challenges. Okay, so what could be the major challenges when you are trying to implement such kind of an automation? Okay, so let's try to do this. Just give me a sec. Okay, yeah, here we go. So in the process of, let's say, creating and managing a machine learning workflows, definitely we will run into a lot of challenges. There's no doubt about it. So for example, we know that model building involves multiple steps, like for example, data preparation step, model training step, model deployment step, right? So this is a traditional process, like what we do in a data preparation. So, but what we do in a model training or what we do in a model deployment, let's try to understand that. But not only we have these steps, there really lot goes into stitching the different things together. So what do you mean by stitching different things together? We want our data preparation step to talk to our model training step. We want our model training step has to talk to our model deployment step. We want to stitch these things together, right? So for example, let's get started with our data preparation side. Okay, so what do we do in a data preparation side? So in your data preparation step, you might contain, let's say, one to many tasks, like taking a raw data set and eventually transforming that into training data set, test data set. We split the data. What do we do in a model training step? So in a model training step, you might have some additional steps inside in your model training. So whether you're doing a single model training or you might be doing experiments. Obviously, model training is an experiment. You cannot produce one model in a one shot, one best model in one single shot. Our data scientists will be using different parameters to optimize your ML model to get the best quality ML model that you can able to deploy for the production. So what do you mean by different kind of parameters? Consider that building a model is like tuning your FM radio. Consider that, do you remember there's old school FM radios where you have a dials and knobs? You'll be keep on tuning a frequency. Let's say you want to access a 93.5 FM. Let's say it's a red FM. It's a FM radio that you want to access. So let's say it's a 93.5 is a frequency. You'll be using this dials to keep on tuning your keep on tuning your radio till you get the better audio output from 93.5, right? So this is what exactly our data scientists will be also doing in terms of model training. So you'll be using something called hyperparameters to optimize this ML model to get the best quality ML model. Consider that now he has a best model. Let's say he has different versions of a model that he has built. You might have version 1, version 2, version 3, any n numbers of models that he has. So now we will be moving on to the model deployment side. So now we have a best model that we can deploy for the production. But what happens here? You won't directly deploy your ML model to production. Instead of that, you will be having a multiple additional step before that. So what do you mean by that? So consider that, let's say you want to deploy your ML model. So not only you have one step in a workflow, you might have multiple steps in a workflow. Consider that you want to deploy your ML model to multiple stages. You don't want to deploy your ML model to the production directly. So what I'm talking about, initially, let's say we'll be deploying your ML model to something called a staging environment. Let's call it as a stage. So what is the staging environment? Staging environment is nothing but it's an exact copy of your production environment, but it's not a production environment and it is not accessible to your users or clients. So basically a staging environment is only for your internal team. Maybe you have a senior data scientist or data scientist, someone they want to do a further testing. They want to see how your model is really going to work in a production, but you cannot deploy to the production. Then you cannot do the testing. That's why you deploy to the staging environment. Then you do the further testing. Then if you're really satisfied with the results, then you go ahead and deploy your ML model to the production environment. So this is how you do it. You'll be having a multiple stages. So not only you have multiple stages, but even though for deploying your ML model, you need a additional control for it. So what do you mean by that? Even if you want to deploy your ML model to a staging environment or to the production environment, you don't want to deploy it automatically, but you want to deploy it through an approval process. So what do you mean by that? Let's say you want to deploy your ML model to a staging environment. Then comes, let's say, your stakeholder, maybe any person who is responsible. You need to click on approval button. You need to click on approval button to deploy your ML model to staging environment and to your production environment also. So you need a multiple controls in it over there. So saying that, let's say, so there are a lot of different steps, lot of different dependencies obviously has to work together to ultimately build this and build out something that provides, let's say, iteration across the life cycle and also provide an end-to-end traceability, right? End-to-end traceability also plays a very important role because of monitoring, what I'm talking about. So monitoring everything in terms of starting from your data preparation to model training to model deployment, even after you deploying your ML model, monitoring an ML model in the production is more important, right? So saying that, let's try to discuss more about these challenges. So we do understand MLOps, right? Right now, it's all about building an automation to deliver your ML models to production and building an automation to build, train, and deploy your ML models. So, but there's another term that is used in an organization, right? So when we talk about, let's say, MLOps, there's another term that is used in an organization. We call it as something called DevOps. There are a lot of DevOps engineers today also in our session. So whether this DevOps and MLOps, are they same? Is there any similarities in that? So definitely there are some similarities, but they are not exactly same. So let's say the kind of a challenges that we do have in operationalizing your machine learning models has some common things with DevOps. What are the common things? The common things are like CI/CD practices that we follow in DevOps, or maybe the source and version control practices that we follow in DevOps are common in MLOps also. The kind of a CI/CD tools that you use in DevOps, we can use the same CI/CD tools here, but that comes with a bit of difficulties. You know what happens? The CI/CD tools, they are not necessarily built for machine learning separately. In reality, what happens, right? You will be using a different combinations of tools and integrations. Sometimes that you will be building a purpose-built tool for data preparation. You'll be building a purpose-built tool for model training and model deployment, a custom-built tool otherwise, right? So all those things, that can be complicated and challenging to stitch things together. And more complicated than this, there is no really a golden pipeline that you can able to follow. So what do you mean by that? Let's say today, if I'm going to draft an architecture, consider that I'm drafting an architecture for you. Not every organizations can follow the same architecture, because the requirements for technical implementations for your organizations can be different. Your organization structure can be different. Tools that your organization that they want to use can be different. Maybe one organization, they might use AWS or Azure or GCP, and they might use open source tools like Docker or Kubernetes or ML or DVC, ZenML. I can keep on mentioning that. But what is going to common here, the steps and core concepts that I recommend is going to remain same across the machine learning workflows. Okay, saying that, let's try to discuss a story here. Okay, so this story can able to help you to understand the end-to-end, how does an MLOps looks like actually. Okay, let's get into a quick story. It's going to be interesting story. Don't worry. Okay, let's go to 2020. Okay, I'm not talking about last 10 years ago. Let's say I'm talking about last 4 years ago. Let's get into the year 2020. Let's say we do have a data scientist in our 2020, but this data scientist is going to solve a problem for a data owners. So he's going to build an ML model for a data owners in order to solve a problem, saying that this model can able to make a prediction saying that how much money they're going to make by selling the tickets in a data, how much tickets they're going to sell, for example. Right? So, but let's say he's building an ML model in a 2020, but he didn't implement any kind of an automation. So this particular organization who is building this model is doing everything manually, no automation at all, data preparation, model training, model evaluation. Then he deployed this ML model to production. And this data scientist assured the particular client saying that this model is going to completely work fine for the next 3 years without any problem. That's a promise he made. But this model didn't exactly work for the next 3 years, but this model got failed in the next 3 months itself. What could be the possible reason? Let's say if we try to analyze this particular problem, this model got failed in the next 3 months, for example, right? So you know what happened in 2020? That's where the world has been hit by COVID-19. You know that once the COVID-19 hit the market, the entire world, instead of we going for theaters for watching movies, we started gradually stop going for theaters. Then in some point of time, we completely locked down in a home. So what's really happening here? Our data scientists couldn't able to monitor the behavior of your customers once he deploys his ML model to the production. So in case if we could able to monitor the behavior of your customer, so what we technically call it as a data drift, you will come to know that your customer behavior is changing. So if if your business environment is changing, you will be having a drift in your model. Your model does not going to work. So in case if he has implemented any model monitoring tools previously, he could came to know that the model there's a data drift. Now you could have just captured the new behavior of his customers, and he could have taken a new data. He could have trained a new model and he could have redeployed it. Then the model would work exactly fine. But he couldn't able to do it because there's no model monitoring tools. Let's try to understand the another side of a story right now. Another side of a story will be starting from your customers itself. You know that before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID, there's a 3 different behaviors of our customers. So I would say that in a lockdown, we never went to movies, but when we are in a lockdown, we started watching more movies. How? is the question due to OTTs. You know that we didn't go for theaters to watch movies, but in a lockdown we started subscribing to more OTTs like Amazon Prime, Netflix, blah blah blah. So there's a lot of OTTs. We started watching more movies. But even after COVID today, I would say there might be a very small number of people who they don't want to go for theaters very regularly because if we wait for next 30 days, we can watch the same movie from OTT. The customer behavior is changing. So that means your data is also changing. Your customers are your data. And again, keeping track and versioning of your data is really important. So when it comes to MLOps, we need to version your data. So we might use tools like DVC to version your data, which is an open source tool. We'll talk about that one in detail later. And we need to also version a source code. Consider that you might be a data scientist, you might be an ML engineer, you might be a DevOps engineer. We all write some scripts, some kind of a scripts, right? Tell me how many times the script that you have written has been changed. Definitely multiple times, there is no doubt about it. But have you ever managed to version it? Definitely, here comes the source version control tools. For example, you might have heard about something called GitHub. We can able to use Git based tools or GitHub in order to version your source code. Then comes model versioning and model artifacts versioning. So when your data is changing, your ML models will also change. You might produce multiple versions of your ML models, right? So, and again, here we use something called model registries. They are dedicated tools that we use in order to version your ML models. If I want to name some example, MLflow. MLflow is a pretty much famous open source tool. It's a must-have tool for people who are going to get into AI that we use in order to version your ML models and your experiments also. So followed by that, then comes the model monitoring tools that we use that I mentioned. So not just monitoring your ML models in the production is important. You need to monitor the complete infrastructure, the infrastructure for your data, your code, your models, where you train your ML models, your CI/CD pipelines, everything, right? So this is why it is most challenging part comes to when it comes to implementing this MLOps pipelines basically. So let's discuss more, right? So now let's try to talk in detail. So how can you master in this MLOps? What it takes to master this MLOps? What are the things that you need to really understand? So in order to understand what it takes to master MLOps, let's get into the MLOps components. What are the different components that we do have in terms of MLOps? So we'll be starting from a use case discovery. There's no doubt about it. Any organization, definitely they need to have an access to a data and the access to the right data and the use case, then only they can get started, right? So then they will be having a data engineering side where they will be building a data pipelines to harvest the data, get the data to an organization. Then they will be having ML pipelines where we build an automation to train your ML models. Then comes production deployment, so where we take the model that we are trying to go ahead and deploy to the production. Then comes production monitoring. So initially, as I mentioned, we'll be getting started with the business understanding, use case identification, data understanding, and we'll be doing all this feasibility study, right? So definitely, if an organization doesn't have an access to the data and they don't have a forecast of harvesting a data in the future, there's no meaning of today what we're talking about AI or data science, right? So let's consider that they have an access to data. So then comes data pre-processing side. This is where we start preparing a data as we discussed previously. Then comes learning an algorithm. So here we pick the right kind of an algorithm that we can able to pick in order to solve our problem. Maybe you want to solve a regression problem, a classification problem, NLP based problem, or you want to use a large language models to do something else in your organization, or you want to use a generative AI, whatever it is. So here we pick the right kind of an algorithm to train the right kind of a model that you need. So this is where we start building your ML models, start teaching the data. So once, let's say you train your ML model, there's no assurance that the first model that you train that comes with the best quality. This is where our data scientist will be doing a model experimentation. You'll be using different hyperparameters and you'll be doing multiple iterations to get the best quality model. So now let's assume that we got a good model. Now you want to do a model evaluation for that. So in a model evaluation technique, so here we'll be calculating a various different metrics to take a decision. So this model evaluation is all about evaluating the quality of your ML model. So here, when it comes to the AI world, we'll be sticking to the metrics, some kind of a numbers that I can rely on to make a decision. So then comes finally the model serving side, so where we can go ahead and deploy our ML models to production. So then comes here. So let's say we'll be integrating all the CI/CD pipelines that we need. Then we go ahead and deploy your ML model to production. So where we have an automation in place. Then we keep operating these ML models in the production. Then we implement the model monitoring tools which keep on monitoring your ML model, including the complete infrastructure. Then we learn lessons by monitoring your ML model. Based on these lessons, we keep on optimizing your ML model again. So this is how the things work. To understand this and to understand this in a more deeper way, let's get into this particular slide. This particular slide could able to help you understand what's the extreme of MLOps going to look like. So every organizations today, they want to move from automated ML workflows to complete incorporated CI/CD practices. They want to move from automated ML workflows. Automated ML workflows is a traditional way of rebuilding an ML model. We have a data, then we prepare a data, then we train your ML model, then we go ahead and deploy your ML model to production. But there's no automation, there's no CI/CD implementation, right? Let's discuss that in detail. So how does the incorporation of CI/CD practices looks like? But before we understand this, let's try to understand the world of MLOps. So what happens? Let's say not every organizations on a day one, they will be implementing complete automation. No. And organizations, initially, they'll be starting with preparing a data, training their ML models manually, and evaluating and deploying their ML models manually. Any organizations, they're doing things manually, we'll say they are in a level 0 maturity. Once they go to level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. So level 4 is the highest level of automation that you can implement today. So what is this level 4? Level 4, we call it as a complete automated retraining pipelines. So complete automated retraining pipelines. So this is an example of a complete automated retraining pipelines. Okay, let's get started. So we'll be definitely, any organization want to get started, they definitely need to have an ML project identification, the use case, all this stuff. So first we'll be getting started with the data. So we do understand that data will definitely going to change in the future. Your data will have versions. Then we'll be implementing a data version control tools, tools that we use for versioning a data. So for example, there is a tool called TBC, which we can able to use, which is an open source tool. And when it comes to AWS or Azure cloud or GCP cloud, they have their own tools that we can able to use it to version your data. Then comes data pre-processing side. So what we do in a data pre-processing side, this is where our data engineers or data scientists, they will be started writing scripts in order to clean and prepare and transform your data. And we know that your code will have a versions, your code will change definitely multiple times in the future. And we need to also version this. For this, we'll be using tools like code repositories, like GitHub, for example. Our AWS has code commit, Azure has Azure repos, GCP has its own, that we use it for versioning your code. Then comes for model building also. This is where our data scientist will be writing a script in order to pick a machine, the data, the location of the data. All the script has to be also versioned. Again, we use source code repositories to version that. Okay, now let's talk about the model training step. So in a model training step, we pick a data, we start teaching the data to a machine. So here comes the feature stores. So what is this feature stores? So feature stores are basically a schema repositories. So what do you mean by schema repositories? Feature stores are not databases, but feature stores are schema repositories where we store and version your features. Consider that in our use case perspective. Let's say I have voltage, current, and bill amounts, and let's say I have other features like power, blah blah blah. Let's say voltage, current, bill, and power. This is the features what I'm talking about. Let's say together with voltage, current, and bill amount, this can be one version of my feature. And let's say together voltage, current, bills and power value, this can be version 2 of my feature. So consider that your customer data set might have multiple features. You can use multiple features to solve different problems for that particular customer. So feature store is basically a schema repository. We store the schema of these features, but your data might still be stored in your storage platforms or in databases. So here we'll be using a feature stores to fetch the right version of a feature, and then we'll be fetching the data. Then we'll be started teaching the data to our machine, basically. Saying that, then comes model artifacts. So what do you mean by model artifacts? So model artifacts are basically the combination of your ML model and the metadata of your ML model. So basically the different versions of ML models that you produce. So definitely we know that throughout the life cycle of building any ML projects, we'll be definitely producing multiple versions of your ML models. And we will be using a dedicated tools here, which we call it as a model registries, in order to version your ML models with is metadata. So we use tools like MLflow, SageMaker Studio in AWS, they might have a model registry, Vertex AI and GCP, they have a model registry. Similarly, Azure Machine Learning Studio. Saying that, the final step is a deployment. So this is where we can integrate our CI and CD pipelines, especially where I want to start Dockerizing my ML model. Then I want to go ahead and deploy to the Docker platform, maybe Kubernetes, wherever you want. Then we started integrating it. Then we start deploying, and then we start operating that in a production. So then once we deploy your ML model to production, see, we start monitoring your ML model. I'm talking about traceability. Traceability doesn't mean just monitoring your ML models, monitoring the complete infrastructure that you have. Infrastructure for data, data pre-processing, training your ML model, model registries, everything has to be monitored. And then comes implementing a feedback loop where we have an automated quality gates comes to the picture. So what is this automated quality gates? We can have automated quality gates at the side of taking a decision for you to decide whether it's the best model, can I deploy it to the production or not. You can also use automated quality gates at the side of a data preparation also. So how do you use quality gates in order to check whether it's the best model or not? So consider that usually your data scientist will be relying on metrics, the numbers. Consider that here we are training a regression model, for example. Let's say when it comes to regression model, as part of a model evaluation, I can able to calculate a metrics like an MSE score or RMSE score, a different kind of a metrics. Let's say here I'm sticking to the MSE score. So my condition is pretty much simple. If my MSE score is less than or equal to 7, if this condition is true, if that satisfies, that means this is the best model. That means if this automated quality gates satisfies this condition, then I will go ahead and register my ML model to model registry. Otherwise, I will not. That's how the quality gate is used. Similarly, an automated quality gate can be used in a way for ensuring your data is clean, is free from outliers and missing values. Right? This is where the automated quality gates comes to the picture. So this is what level 4 architecture comes in. So the level 4 architecture is nothing but everything is automated. Your data preparation is automated, model training, model evaluation, model deployment, again retraining of your ML model. Maybe every 6 months you want to retrain your ML model. The pipeline runs automatically. So in this MLOps specialization program, we'll be covering a projects that is related to level 4, level 3, level 2, and level 1 architecture projects. Saying that, so now we have a good idea about MLOps, but you might say, Sharath, I'm a DevOps engineer, I'm a developer, I'm a software engineer, I might be a data engineer. Can I be really fit into MLOps? Definitely yes. So, but consider that these are the various different roles where you can also be part of MLOps and more. Consider that developing a successful machine learning project definitely needs varieties of experience and requires extreme collaboration between them. There's no doubt about it. This kind of a roles are completely depends on an organization. In an MNC perspective, what are the different roles that you can be part of in terms of where you can work as an MLOps? In MLOps, like one is, let's say, data analyst is also part of this particular pipelines. What our data analyst will be doing, you know, that they'll be closely working with the product managers and business team to drive the insights from a user data. They will be using tools like SQL, Excel sheets, and visualization tools like Tableau and Power BI. And when it comes to the MLOps side, they will be working on a model monitoring tools. They will be building a dashboards in order to monitor your infrastructure, your ML models, etc. Then comes your data engineers. So what our data engineers will be doing? So data engineers, they will be making sure that the infrastructure to collect, transform, pre-process, and store the data. So they will be working on a tools like, for example, data version control tools, feature stores they will be working on, and they will be working on other tools like Spark, Hadoop-based tools, ETL-based tools, for example, right? And then comes our data scientist. Obviously, our dear data scientist is someone who builds an ML model, which is going to be part of final end product. Then comes research or maybe applied scientist. Definitely, you don't see these roles in all the organizations, especially the organizations who are working on cutting edge technologies. There you can find these roles like Amazon, Meta, Apple, or Google. So then comes ML engineers or DevOps engineers. So in AI industry, we don't call it as DevOps engineers, but alternatively we call it as ML engineers or MLOps engineers, basically, right? So you know that ML engineers are basically someone will be responsible for deploying an ML model. He will be closely working with a data scientist. The model that is built by our data scientists, our ML engineers, they will be going ahead and they will be deploying it to the production. Then comes developers. So developers, we can say they are the last piece of a puzzle. So arguably one of the most important one also. They integrate everything with the main application. So they build beautiful web apps and Android applications. However, your client want to use your model. Then comes our MLOps engineers. MLOps engineers are someone who make sure the infrastructure for your complete automation. They deploy the infrastructures, they build the pipelines, they automate the things over here basically. Right? To get more insights, let's get into the most fun part. So let's try to discuss about the different tools the world has in terms of MLOps. Let me have some water. Okay, great. So, but here I didn't list obviously all the tools. That's not possible. So here I have list the tools for your clarity. What are the different tools that we do have in the market actually, right? Here we go. Here are the range of tools that we do have in the market. So let's get into this part. Okay, so let's get into the traditional way of building an ML model. What are the steps? We'll be getting started with data collection and labeling. We collect data, then we start cleaning a data exploration. Once we have a clean data, we start teaching the data to machine. So model training and model evaluation, testing. Then we finally go ahead and deploy the model to production, right? That's what we do. So in order to build this kind of an automation, so these are the different tools that we will be using. So let's say the kind of IDEs that we might use. IDEs are basically a software that we use to write a code, right? We might use Jupyter notebooks, let's say it can be Spider or maybe IntelliJ, like there are different kind of IDEs that you can able to use it according to your wish. Then code versioning tools come to the picture because we know that the code that you're going to write, it's going to change. We use code versioning tools like GitHub, Bitbucket, or maybe something on AWS, Azure, or GCP. And when it comes to a data scientist perspective, so you will be using a data labeling tools. I mean, he need to label the data. Let's say when he has a picture of a cat, then you need to have a label. It's a cat. Basically, you'll be using a labeling tools for that. Then comes data exploration and visualization. So we, human beings, we are a visual beings. We can able to understand the things visually. So when you have a data in an Excel sheet, you cannot get a clarity. That's why we use visualization tools. Maybe we use tools like Matplotlib or Seaborn or Pandas, basically to put a graph, plot the graph to understand more insights on the data. Feature engineering. So we have different tools like sklearn, or maybe you want to use the commercial tools like a no-code tools. You can use feature tools, or if you want to use completely open source tool like free to use Feast. For model training, in order to take a data, teach a data to a machine, you need an algorithm to solve different problems. Our data scientists will be using a different tools like sklearn or PyTorch or XGBoost, the kind of an algorithm that you want to use to solve a problem. Before we going for a production, we want to do a quick POC, right? We need to check the things that you built as working or not. So these are the platform that you use to deploy your ML. You want to deploy your ML models on your Jupyter notebook itself, on your local premises, or you want to deploy your app to Streamlit and you want to experiment with that. Then comes for model debugging and visualization. You want to debug your ML model, visualize your ML model as a part of training. We use different tools like it can be Neptune.ai. Neptune.ai is a commercial tool. What do you mean by commercial tool? You need to pay a subscription for them, monthly subscription to use that. Or you can use open source free to use tools like TensorBoard or commercial tools like weights and biases. Then comes model tuning, hyperparameter optimization. As we discussed already, your data scientist will do experiments. He will be using hyperparameters like how we tune an FM radio to get the best quality audio from FM radio. Similar to that, our data scientist will be using hyperparameters to tune an ML model. For that, we do have different tools, SDKs like Keras, Tuner, Tune, different options we have. For experiment tracking, let's say my data scientist has done 10 experiments. You want to go through this 10 experiments. You want to take a decision, which experiment is good, which model is good. For that, we can use tools like MLflow. MLflow is a pretty much famous one. Apart from MLflow, we do have commercial tools like Neptune.ai, weights and biases. Still, you can use TensorBoard for that. For model packing, let's say once a software engineer makes a software, he packs a software. Similarly, when a data scientist makes an ML model for a deployment, we pack an ML model. So for packing, we can use different tools like TensorFlow or PyTorch or maybe MLflow based packing or ONNX or Kubeflow. And let's say now finally we want to serve our ML model. That means we need to go ahead and deploy the ML model to production or maybe to the staging environment. So you can deploy your ML model in a multiple ways, as we discussed: Docker, Kubernetes, real-time endpoint, and a cloud, AWS, Azure, multiple ways. Right. So here I mentioned very few like SageMaker or Minto. Okay, here comes the workflow orchestration. So where our ML engineers will be using this workflow orchestration tools like Apache Airflow or Kubeflow, ZenML, or commercial tools like Volahai for building the orchestration. Orchestration is nothing but the step-by-step workflow, the automation that you can able to build. Then comes data versioning. The different tools that we do have to version a data. DVC, I'm mentioning that a couple of times. Neptune.ai is a commercial tool. They have their own data version tools. Git large files are from Git, are commercial tools if you want to use like Volahai. Then comes model registries, the kind of a tools that you can able to use in order to version your ML models. So MLflow stands first. Then comes commercial tools like Neptune.ai or Volahai is a commercial tool. Or every cloud, AWS, SageMaker, or Azure Machine Learning Studio, or Vertex AI, they all got their own model registries. Then comes model monitoring. There are a lot of open source tools outside, commercial tools outside. Every cloud has their own SDKs to monitor your ML model. Our open source tools like Evidently AI is there, Seldon is there, the commercial tool. Or if you want to build a feature store, you can use tools like Feast, which is open source, or cloud-based feature stores, or Tecton, which is open a subscription-based one. Sorry, yeah. So these are the different kind of tools that we do have. I'm sorry, yeah, that we do have in a market, are even more tools because this is just for an idea, right? So getting started. So consider that tomorrow you want to become a specialist. Let's say you might be in a leadership positions in MLOps. Like yes, you can apply for, if someone who has more than 6 or 7 or 8 plus years of experience, they can apply for the lead positions in MLOps, like MLOps lead, MLOps architect, specialist kind of roles. Just imagine someone who gets to decide what tool to be used in your organization. So if you want to become a specialist, how do you pick a tool? So getting started, let's say, how do you pick the tools based out of, let's say, open source or closed source tools, basically, right? Okay, so open source tools, we know that they are always free to use. There's no doubt about it, and they can be easily integrated with your MLOps tools. But the only difficult part is when you have a very few members in your team, and if you're free and your developers have no idea about that open source tools, then comes the difficulties in integration. Then comes platform versus specific tool. So what do you mean by that? So do you want to go for a commercial tool or a cloud-based tool? So what do you mean by a commercial tool? Like let's say every commercial tools, you need to pay a monthly subscription for that. Our cloud-based tools, they follow the business model like pay as you go, right? And the kind of a tool that you're going to pick, does it provides a model and production environment monitoring? Do they have a tools for monitoring your ML model, including monitoring your complete environment? Your tools for versioning your data, model training servers, feature stores, model registries, etc., to ensure that your production bugs are documented and addressed in the meantime, right? And making sure that the security and compliance concerns is also addressed, right? Does that tool provide such kind of a features? Then comes model templating and cataloging plays very important role. So what do you mean by model templating and cataloging? Consider that tomorrow you folks are going to work in AI industry in multiple positions, but when it comes to the automation perspective, you're not going to solve a problem only for one client. You're not going to work with only one project throughout your life, right? Because no, definitely you will be solving a multiple customers problem. But the question is, are you going to reinvent a wheel again and again? Definitely no, we don't want to reinvent a wheel again and again. That's where model templating and cataloging comes to the picture. So MLOps always works based on templating. We use the same template where I could able to get a success for a previous client. I'll be using the same template by making a minimal changes. I could able to redeploy the same. I can use the same template for multiple clients to solve multiple problems for it. So that's where model templating and cataloging comes into the picture. Then comes model training, tuning, and drift management automation. So when we talk about MLOps, it's all about automation, right? Does the kind of a platform that you're going to pick, does it offers an automation in terms of, okay, you want to do data preparation automatically, model training, model evaluation, deployment, monitoring, and retraining? That you need to consider. Then comes pipeline management. Consider that throughout your MLOps pipeline, there are multiple stakeholders. There are data engineers, there are data scientists, there are ML engineers, there are MLOps engineers, or maybe the leadership positions of lead MLOps engineers, for example. So each and every people plays very important role in your pipeline. So consider that you have a pipeline where your data preparation got failed. That means I need to notify my data engineer something is going wrong. Similarly, if data model building got failed, like I need to notify and alert my data scientist something is going on in his pipeline. So making sure that you can able to send this automated triggers and notifications to your stakeholders. Then comes collaboration and communication capability is more important. That's what exactly MLOps is all about. Can you able to embed communication tools where you can able to document your commands, questions? Can you able to integrate project management tools like Jira? Can you able to integrate, let's say, applications like Slack that you can able to use it for communication, right? Yeah. So this is where your expertise will be has to come. Now let's talk about MLOps in cloud. Why cloud? So why? Is that mandate today that you need to learn a cloud? Definitely, definitely yes. So 1,000% or million% yes, right? There's no doubt about it because the world is heading towards the cloud. There's no doubt about it. Everyone want to get into the cloud. And today, let's focus on only 3 different cloud platforms which are leading outside, like AWS, Azure, and GCP. You know that AWS leads the cloud industry, then comes Azure, then comes GCP, right? Let's talk about what are the cloud platforms where we will be covering in this particular program. So we'll be covering MLOps and DevOps that is needed for MLOps on both the clouds. Let's say we do cover AWS, Azure, and GCP. Not limited to the cloud, we do also cover open source tools also. So why open source? Why don't I just learn cloud? This is how it works in industry. Even though an organization uses cloud platforms like AWS or Azure, GCP, they use multi-clouds even, not just one cloud. I have seen there are organizations who might run their DevOps pipelines on Azure, but they still deploy their ML models on AWS. Even though they use open source, even though they use cloud platforms, they use open source tools like Docker, Kubernetes, MLflow, Kubeflow, ZenML, DVC, etc. So now let's focus on the kind of tools that we will be covering in this particular program. We'll be getting started with Git-based tools. We'll be understanding how Git works. We'll be learning how to use code repository tools like GitHub, or getting started with AWS Code Commit, GCP, Google Cloud repos, or maybe Azure repos, for example. Followed with that, we'll be getting in deep with understanding CI/CD. CI/CD stands for continuous integration and continuous deployment. CI/CD is a practice that is traditionally used in the software industry to deliver a new version of a software to production. CI/CD is used for that. Okay, so but let's try to understand how this CI/CD practices actually works in a software delivery. So let's get started from our developer. Let's say here is our developer. Someone is writing a code and he is pushing the code to use code repositories like GitHub, for example. Once he has committed the changes, this is where the automation, CI/CD tools, CI/CD is a practice that we use to build an automation. So once the code has been sent to a code repository, automatically your CI/CD pipelines will know that a developer has made some changes to the code. Automatically, it will start triggering a build process. What do you mean by build process? Let me just give a quick example. There's a Java developer who made a Java application. So now you want to build this Java application to create a jar file, which is a final deployment file, right? So this building process will start automatically. So once your build is completed, we will be notifying a specific responsible person saying that your build is complete. Then we'll be started running test. Obviously, in a software, we do a lot of testing to ensure that your software is working perfectly. Once all the test has been done, we'll also notify you all the test process is done. Then finally, we take the build software to go ahead and deploy that to the production or multiple stages that you do have. Let me just throw a simple example, okay? Okay, here is a e-commerce website. Okay, there's an e-commerce website. It can be Amazon.com, .in, Flipkart, whatever you want to consider. No issues. Consider that there is a pay now button in the e-commerce website that you click in order to make a payment for any product that you buy in an e-commerce website. Currently, let's consider that the color of a button is in green. We know that green is not so much attractive, the red is so much attractive. There's a lot of feedbacks from your customers. Now, your developer made a decision to change the color of a button from green to red. That's a new feature he is developing. That's a new version of a software that he is developing. Let's say he's making the changes of a color of a button, and he will be pushing the new changes of a code to GitHub. It's a code repository. Here we do have two different environments. I mean, two different branches. One branch for dev or staging environment we can also call. Another branch is for production. You'll be pushing the latest changes of a code to a dev environment first. Once the code has been pushed to your source code repository, here we are using AWS code pipelines, which is a DevOps tools. Automatically, it understands once your developer has made the changes to the code, it will automatically start the build process. Once your building is done, this will produce an artifact, a deployment package. So once you have an artifact, then finally we go ahead and deploy. So here we'll be deploying your app to your web server, but we won't be directly deploying your app to production directly. No, initially we deploy your initially we deploy the new feature of that software to dev environment, or you can call it as a staging environment. So now, finally, the color of a button has been changed from green to red, and here we will be doing a further testing. Here we do further testing. We'll come and check whether this button is clickable, whether functionality is working or not. If you're fully satisfied with that, finally we'll be deploying the same version of that software, the new feature, the red color button, to your production also. Now finally your clients can able to start using the new feature that you have developed basically. So this is how the CI/CD automation can able to work. So the same kind of automation that we'll be also following in MLOps pipelines also. And so that here we have our data scientist or data engineer or anyone. He is making some changes to the code in this PC, and he's pushing the changes to the code repository. Once the code has been pushed to your code repository, here automatically an automation will kick in. So the first step in a workflow will be started doing the feature engineering. So basically data preparation will be done automatically without you running a code manually. Then comes training your ML model will happen automatically. Then comes model evaluation. In a model evaluation step, this is where we evaluate a metric. Let's say I'm going to calculate my MSE score. My MSE score is 4.5, for example. Then comes a condition step. So in this condition step, this is where I have condition. I have specified if my MSE score is less than or equal to 7. If this condition satisfies, then I register my ML model to model registry. So currently my MSE score is 4.5. Yes, 4.5 is less than or equal to 7. This is satisfied. Then I will deploy the first version of my model to my model registry. If this condition didn't satisfy, I won't register my ML model to model registry at all. Consider that now I have first version of my ML model. Now comes the build stage. Let's say I want to Dockerize my ML model here. So I will take my ML model, I will Dockerize it, then I will go ahead and deploy it my model hosting platform. So similarly, here I will be not directly deploying my ML model to production. Instead, I will be deploying my ML model to my dev or staging environment, however you want to call it. So I will do further testing here in my staging environment. If you're fully satisfied, then only I'll be deploying the same version one I deployed to my dev environment. I'll deploy the same version of my ML model to production also. That's how things are going to look like. Similarly, when it comes to what we today talking about generative AI, Gen AI, and large language models, things works exactly same. There is nothing much. So here I'm talking about something called LLM Ops. LLM Ops is not completely different than MLOps. It's just an extension of MLOps. Everything in LLM Ops is MLOps only, but there are few things that will be different. Consider that today we are talking about large language models, like it can be llama based, meta based llama models, or Hugging Face models, or AI to your lab models, or stability diffusion, stability.ai models, foundation models, anything. So let's say here you have a situation that these foundation models are not perfectly working for your business. Now you want to pre-train that with your own data of your business. Again, here we have an orchestration similar to MLOps. Here we'll be having the same data preparation and versioning of your data. Here we'll be having a pipelines for supervised fine tuning. You'll be taking your new data of your business. You'll be pre-training the large language models on top of your data. Then it will produce your own artifacts, and this artifacts will be versioned in your model registries, the similar model registries that we use in MLOps. So once we have, let's say you have multiple versions here, let's say you pick the best version of a model, let's say you consider that version 3 is perfectly working fine. Then again, you'll be having an automation to automatically deploy these large language models or Gen AI models to production. Again, you'll be executing a pipeline to deploy your large language model to production. So either you want to deploy to a staging environment or to the production environment. We can also have a same replica here. But what is the difference? Here comes the different things. Prompting and predictions and responsible AI is going to be different here. So what do you mean by prompting and questions? Prompting. Prompts are basically the question that you ask for large language models. For example, what do you do if you go to ChatGPT? Let's say if I go to a ChatGPT, let's say I will be asking to summarize some text. Let's say I'm going to upload the bunch of paragraphs. I'm going to ask my ChatGPT to summarize it for 5 lines. The text that you upload, the question that you ask, it's a prompt. Based on that prompt, it will give the output for you, the predictions, or maybe the response for you, right? So prompt or prompt engineering that we're talking about will be frame the question for our large language model, then it produces the predictions for us. Then comes responsible AI comes into the picture. So what is this responsible AI? So where does your clients users comes into the picture? This is where users comes into the picture. Your user will provide your input and they will be receiving an output from your large language model. But responsible AI comes in between. The responsible AI will act as a filter. So what does this filter does? So basically the responsible AI will make sure the kind of a response that is produced by your large language model is not harmful, it doesn't produce any offensive content, it will just try to filter that. Let's say the output that is produced by your large language model will be filtered by your responsible AI. You know that today in the world of Gen AI or Gen AI that we're talking about, so generative AI tools can be misused in today's market. Especially just imagine the kind of Gen AI tools where you can able to input a text and it can able to generate a picture, right? We can today, if there is no responsible AI into the picture, we can generate an offensive pictures. We can generate an offensive content, right? Probably in case if you heard about what happened with Gemini, right? Gemini recently been in the news where its responsible AI is not up to the mark. You can search more about this. So responsible AI can be acting as a filter to filter the response that is produced from your large language model or generative AI tools. And even your responsible AI can be also act as a filter for your user also. Maybe your user is inputting an offensive prompt. I mean, let's say your user is asking to generate some offensive content. So this can be also filtered by your responsible AI. So that's how it works. Okay, same. In order to build this kind of an automation, the kind of a CI/CD tools that we will be covering in this particular program, yes, we'll be covering the complete AWS DevOps tools like AWS code pipelines, AWS code commit, AWS code build, AWS code deploy. When it comes to GCP has DevOps tools like cloud build, cloud source repositories, artifact registries, cloud deploy, and cloud run. And we'll be covering the complete Azure DevOps suite. So here we'll be covering Azure pipelines, Azure artifacts, Azure repos, Azure boards, and Azure test plans together. So not limited to the cloud-based tools, we'll be also covering open source tools starting from Docker and Kubernetes. We'll be getting started with Dockers from scratch, Kubernetes from scratch. More importantly, Dockers and Kubernetes in the perspective of MLOps. And then we'll be not just covering the Kubernetes on the premises, Alec, we'll be also covering the cloud-based Kubernetes infrastructure. It can be EKS on top of AWS, it can be AKS on top of Azure Kubernetes service on top of Azure, or GKE in terms of Google Kubernetes engine in terms of Google Cloud. And model management tools like open source tools like MLflow, will be covering it from scratch with hands-on project, DBC from scratch with hands-on projects. Then comes Git large files. Then comes feature stores that we'll be exploring. We'll be exploring all the cloud-based feature stores like SageMaker feature store, Vertex AI, GCP-based feature store, Databricks, or maybe commercial tools like Tekton, and exploring Feast-based open source tools with a hands-on project like commercial tools again like HubSpot, or you want to create your own custom-built feature store with DynamoDB or S3. Then comes cloud ML services that we'll be covering. We'll be getting started with Amazon SageMaker Studio from end to end, building an end-to-end level 4 architecture project on AWS SageMaker, getting started with level 4 architecture project on Vertex AI. We'll be covering Vertex AI from scratch, and using Azure Machine Learning Studio, we'll be again building a level 4 architecture project on top of it. And then comes, let's say, consider that you're an organization who don't want to use a cloud at all. You want to go completely open source. We'll be covering open source tools like Kubeflow. You know, Spotify today, Spotify, where we used to listen to the music, they use Kubeflow for their ML pipelines. And we'll be discussing the SDKs on all the cloud platform for model monitoring. And we'll be also exploring open source tools like Evidently AI for model monitoring. So not limited to open source or cloud-based tools, we'll be also exploring commercial tools like Azure, Domino Data Labs, Olahai, weights and biases. So then comes post-deployment challenges. Okay, now consider that you have made a pipeline, deployed, your models are in production. Now comes the post-deployment challenges. You will be having challenges related to software engineering, challenges related to ML part, challenges in deploying your ML model stage devices. So those are the stuff that we'll be also exploring. Okay, so this is how the world of MLOps looks like. You do understand that MLOps is all about building an automation with multiple tools. There's a lot of dependencies in this, a lot of stakeholders over there. Okay, to understand this, why don't we get into the quick demo? So here we go. As I mentioned, so when it comes to this demo, we have arranged the live demo on top of AWS. We have built the end-to-end ML pipelines on top of AWS. We'll explore that. So still we do have 30 minutes. So what are the things that we're going to further explore? Make sure that there are 3 things. You don't leave this meeting, right? So please make sure you stay till the end of this particular program. So in order to understand the world of AI is going to look like for the next 5 to 10 years, how does the job opportunity is going to look like, right? The second stuff. And if you want to download the free takeaway ebooks, please make sure you stay till the end of this program. Okay, let's get started. Okay, here we go. So now let me get into my console. Yep, I believe you could be able to see my screen. Yeah, so here we go. Currently, you could able to see my Amazon SageMaker console here. Okay, so let's get started once. Yeah, you can able to see that this is how Amazon SageMaker Studio look like. A very powerful platform outside in the market that you can able to use to build an end-to-end ML pipelines. So I do have a project that I've created already. Let me just get into deployments and projects. So here is my project. I call it as demo July 24 SAT. So if I get into this, here you can able to take a look. These are the details I do have. So I do have repositories, pipelines, experiments, model groups, endpoints, and settings. Let's get started with the repositories. So what are those repositories? So repositories, as I mentioned, this is where I will be having my source code. So where I will be having 2 different repositories here. You can able to check here. I do have one repository, code repository basically, one for model building, another one is for model deployment basically, right? One second. Yeah, so I do have 2 different repositories where I have my source code, and all this source code is versioned in AWS code commit. Okay, so let's get into the pipeline part here. Let's say once I go to this pipeline section, this is where I have a pipeline. I have a name called demo July 24. If I double click and if I open it, so now I will be redirected to the execution part. So here you can able to see there is something called execution. So what is this execution? So consider that, let's say you have an automation. Let's say you have a pipeline. If your pipeline execute once, that means everything runs automatically. Your data preparation, model training, model evaluation, deploy. If your pipeline execute once, it produces one ML model. Let's say one version of ML model. Let's say your pipeline execute twice, it produces second version, third version, it goes on. So right now you can able to see that my pipeline is executed once. That means I have only one version of my ML model, and the status of my pipeline is succeeded. That means I have a model, the pipeline got executed successfully. Okay, so now if I go inside my pipeline, here you can able to see the graph. So what is this graph? This is called automation. This is called orchestration. So here you can able to see the steps that I do have in the process of I'm building this automation. So the first step in my workflow is pre-processing my data. Okay, first of all, you can able to see that I call it as pre-process abalone data. Then comes train abalone model, evaluate abalone model, then comes check MSC abalone evaluation, then comes register abalone model. So what is this abalone? It's a use case that we are working on. Have you might have heard about abalone. Abalone is a kind of a sea snail. I mean, in case if you're a non-veg lover, you might have heard about it. This abalones are inside a shell. I mean, there is a meat that is inside a shell which is edible. You can able to eat this meat. So what kind of a problem? Yeah, this is how the meat looks like. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Okay, saying that, so basically the kind of a problem that we are solving here, basically we are finding a regression model in order to predict an age of an abalone. Because based on an age of an abalone, the price is actually decided in the market. So basically we are helping our farmers to predict the age. Okay, the first step in a workflow is pre-processing an abalone data. So let me just click on this particular block. Okay, if I click on this particular block, the pre-process abalone data, you can see that I do have input, output, logs, informations. So logs is a section where you can get the complete logs. Input is a section where you'll be inputting your input data. Consider that you'll be inputting a data, the machine, the algorithm that you want to pre-process your data. And what are we expecting at the output is basically is a splitted data. So basically what we are trying to obtain in your output, basically we want to convert your raw data into test data, validation data, and training data. We split the raw data into multiple chunks. So that's what exactly you can able to see over here. So basically we're converting a data into training data, validation data, and test data, right? Yep. So that's what exactly we are doing in a pre-processing and abalone data here, right? So now let's move on to the next step, that is training an abalone model. So what do you think we might be doing in a training an abalone model? So training an abalone model is a step where we'll be taking a pre-processed data and we teaching a data to our machine. As part of the output of our training, we'll be getting an ML model. When it comes to Amazon SageMaker produces an ML model in a format called model.tar.gz actually. So let me just zoom it a bit if you couldn't able to see that properly. Yeah. So when it comes to Amazon SageMaker, it always produces a model in the format of model.tar.gz. So this is where I have my ML model, and I will be storing this ML model in a S3 bucket. So S3 is a storage platform on top of AWS. It's similar to Google Drive, let's say. So this is where I have stored my ML model. Along with the model training exercise, I might have also calculated some kind of a metrics. Like you can able to see that I have calculated my MSC score on my model training and RMSC score on my model training and RMSC score on validation data. So which this metrics would help me to understand how well your model has been trained, right? Yeah. Saying that, so now I'm done with the model training. Then I will be moving on to the next step, the model evaluation step. So you know what we will be doing in a model evaluation step, right? So in a model evaluation step, this is where we'll be evaluating an ML model. This is where we'll calculate some kind of a metrics to make a decision. So all we do in my model evaluation step, so here we'll be calculating an MSC score. So here we'll be calculating an MSC score. And once the MSC score has been evaluated, I will be storing this MSC score in JSON file in S3 bucket. So I'll be creating a .json file, and this JSON file will be stored in this S3 bucket. So I do have my metrics. I will be calculating my MSC score, and I will be also calculating my standard deviation also. That's another metric that I calculate. So I store that in a JSON document. Then comes finally check MSc Abalone evaluation. So this is what exactly we call it as a quality gate. So this is where I might have written a condition saying that if my MSc score, if it is less than or equal to 7, then I want to register my ML model to model registry. If it is true, you can able to see that the output of check MSc Abalone is true. That means the MSc score is satisfied, but we don't know what is my MSc score is still, but my threshold will be 7. But let's take a look. If I go ahead and click on my check Abalone evaluation, but here as an output, you don't get any output displayed, but all we display is a true. That means the condition is satisfied. So once this condition is satisfied, then we go ahead and register your ML model to model registry. So let's go ahead and click our model registry block, and you can able to see the output of our model registry towards right side. You can able to check what is my MSc score. You can see my MSc score for this pipeline. I have executed this pipeline only once. It is 4.0. So obviously 4.0 is less than or equal to 7. This condition is satisfied. That's why it is true. That's why your model got registered to your model registry. That means now we have successfully registered our ML model to a model registry. But how do I check it? Let's go to my project again. Yeah, so this is what exactly we could able to check in your pipeline section. Now there is something called model groups. This is called model registry in Amazon SageMaker Studio. But before that, there is something called experiments. So as we discussed already, experiments is a section where you can able to find the different experiments that is conducted by our data scientists. He might be tuning his ML model again and again to find the best quality ML model. So here you can see currently we do have 3 different experiments, one for pre-processing data, one for evaluation of your ML model, one for training your ML model. Okay, let's go to model groups. Let's focus on this. This is called model registry as we discussed, right? Yeah. So as we discussed, I have a model registry or a model group. I call it as demo July 24, sat some random ID. Let me just double click and get inside. Okay, tell me right now what you could able to see here, right? What you could able to see in this particular console. Okay, it says this is my model group name, and you can see there is a table. It says version 1 and it says pending manual approval. So what do you think it is actually doing? So it says pending manual approval, right? That means the model that I have trained is registered to model registry. It has only one version, but it is not a deploy. It is waiting for my approval to be deployed for a production or to the staging environment, right? So as we are discussing in our slide, so let's say initially we won't be deploying our ML model to production directly, but initially we deploy your ML model to a dev environment, then only we'll go to the production. So that's what exactly we'll be doing right now. So what we'll be doing right? So right now I will be approving my ML model to be deployed to a staging environment. So how do I approve it? Let me just go ahead and click on this version 1. So if I click on this version 1, I will be redirected to the screen of the first version of my ML model. Now you can see that status of your ML model is pending. That means someone who has access, some stakeholder like data scientist, senior data scientist, who have a permission has to approve this ML model. In order to approve this ML model, I will be clicking on this actions button towards the right side, and I will be going to this update status, and I will be simply clicking on this approved button. You can also reject it, but here I'm going to approve it. I will say all okay. I will simply say all okay, something like that. Then I will simply click save and update. That's it. Once I click save and update, you will see that I have successfully approved my ML model. Now it is getting deployed to staging environment, not to production. First, it will deploy the model to staging environment. Then we can deploy your ML model to production actually. Okay, so let's get to the root directory of your project. So we have explored model groups, which is nothing but model registry, and let's try to explore endpoints. What is this endpoints? Endpoints is a section where you can find the ML model that you're deployed to a staging environment or to the production environment. So let's go ahead and explore your endpoints. Currently, you can see in this screen, it says no endpoints. It says, yes, there's no endpoint currently because we have just deployed your ML model. It's going to take some time to deploy your ML model to your staging environment. So right now you don't see any options here. You can see it says no endpoint. It's going to take some time to deploy that ML model to staging environment. So in the meantime, your ML model is getting deployed to, let's say, the staging environment. Let's explore more about this particular program, the opportunities that there for you in a market. Okay, so let's get started without wasting much of our time actually. Okay, so now, so let's get back to our slide. Let's discuss further. Okay, so now let's get into the third part. In the meantime, your model getting deployed. So the MLOps job industry, or how does your career is going to look like in terms of you getting into MLOps? Are you getting into the AI industry? Okay, here is the biggest question is answered. Who will be part of MLOps? Who can learn MLOps? So for what kind of a people it really fits in? Are you a data scientist? Yes, MLOps is must for you. Are you a data engineer or a data analyst, someone who are already part of AI industry? MLOps is must for you. Are someone you are a researcher, applied scientist? Are you an ML engineer? Are you a DevOps engineer trying to make your career into MLOps? Perfectly suits for you, because for a DevOps engineer, there's an added advantage because they're already having good experience in CI/CD, the source code versioning. That's an added advantage for you. Then comes, are you an aspiring MLOps professional or enthusiast? Are a machine learning professional, you want to learn how to deploy your ML models? Are you trying to learn Docker, Kubernetes, AWS, Azure, GCP, or tools like DVC, Feast, or MLflow? Yeah, MLOps, and this course is for you. Are you a software engineer? Are you interested in data and AI industry? Are you from software engineering background, IT background, testing? So can you learn MLOps? Can you get into the market? Yes, MLOps is also for you. Okay, let's speak some numbers. Okay, can we speak some numbers here? Yep. So what does an average salary looks like in 2020-24 for MLOps engineers? As someone who has MLOps skill sets on their resume. Let's say obviously the global market is really huge. An average salary for MLOps engineers across the globe, like let's say in case of US, it's 94.5K, right? Dollars per year. Let's talk about in India. In India, according to the sixfigure.com, you can also cross verify that. An average salary for someone who has an MLOps skill sets on their resume, it starts from 26.6 lakhs. This is according to an MNC standards. According to the MNC standard, is 26.6 lakhs in India. Someone who has 2 to 3 years of experience. Let's say if you have more than this, let's say you have more than 5 plus, 10 plus, 15 plus years of experience, your salary range can go accordingly. So let's say already 33% of people, they might be in a salary slab of 10 to 20, 42% might be in a 20 to 30, or 25 might be in a 30 to 40 lakhs in a slab. Basically, it can vary accordingly. Right? We'll discuss that in more. And a lot of people, they might ask, like, how does the job vacancy actually looks like in an AI industry specifically, right? The ML job vacancy, how does it looks like comparing to any other industry? Definitely, according to itjobworks.co.uk, the trend in ML job vacancy is trending starting from 2012 to till date. But I don't want to just talk about these numbers. Let's try to understand the reality. Okay, let's try to discuss about some reality. Okay. So today, just imagine, just try to think across you what's happening. I mean, you might be an IT, you might be a data engineer, ML engineer, data scientist, DevOps engineer, you might be coming from a testing team, you might be a Java developer, software developer, anyone, right? So in day-to-day life, what kind of a new technology that you're hearing more about in day-to-day life? Are you hearing more about a new innovation in DevOps industry? Are you hearing more about new innovations in IoT markets, blockchains, quantum computing? So what are you hearing more? Is that about AI or what? AI, right? If you go to LinkedIn or Instagram, the tech blogs that you have subscribed, you are hearing more about AI. So AI is everywhere. AI is going to be everywhere. The thing is, The question is, do you want to be a creator or do you want to be a user of that AI, or do you want to be both? If you're going to compromise any one thing, you're going to lose the biggest piece of a cake in your career. So definitely we want to be a both actually, right? So I would like to explain this with this slide actually, right? Say, just imagine how, for example, you heard about drones, right? How does a drone just replace a cameraman and a pilot in just 10 years? We are talking about 10 years. It took 10 years for the drones to replace a cameraman and pilot. I mean, after drones came to the market. But when we talk about AI industry, you don't have 10 years. No, definitely not. You know that amount of, I mean, if you talk about any technological industry today, AI is transforming pretty much faster than any other industry. There's no doubt about it. Every week we are hearing new technology that's outside in the market. We are hearing a new innovation that could solve a different problems in AI industry, right? So, yep. So, and again, this is the right time for you to get started with MLOps, because as I mentioned, what's happening in what is the current state of machine learning in every industry today? Because last 10 years ago or last 5 years ago, consider that there's no chat GPT last 5 years ago. There's no Google Gemini last 5 years ago. There's no Microsoft Copilot last 5 years ago. It started OpenAI came with ChatGPT last end of 2022. The question is, why didn't ChatGPT came to the market last 5 years ago? Because every organization's from last 10 years, they started building an ML models. It can be the generative AI models, the classical machine learning models. But in a year, end of 2022, that's where they started coming to the market. I mean, reaching their customers. If you want your AI to reach your market, you need an automation, pretty much simple. You need a pipeline, because you're not going to stick to one version of a model. You're going to create multiple versions, and multiple versions has to be deployed. And this can't be done without an automation. That's where MLOps comes into the picture. So that's where we can able to help you in becoming a specialist in MLOps. This is where our MLOps specialization program comes into the picture. So this is the best program in terms of MLOps in the world. So MLOps specialization program. So we'll be starting our new batch from the July 20th. Yep. So we are starting our new batch from July 20th. I mean, so this is our almost third demo that we are providing in terms of this particular program. So, okay, let's talk about this program, how interesting it's going to be. So, okay, this program is going to start from June 20th. We do have a program only on weekends only. Let's say every weekend starting from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. in case if you're from India, we'll be joining the live sessions. It's a live sessions, not pre-recorded. We'll be having a live sessions from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Or if you're from EST time zone, your time zone will be 9:30 to 1:30 p.m. Or if you're from CET, you'll be joining our live sessions between 2:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Okay, let's get into the structure of a program, the program workflow. As I mentioned, every weekend we'll be having a live sessions. Consider that starting from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. IST, we'll be having a live sessions. So live sessions doesn't mean it's not like a webinar or a seminar. So we'll be building more than 10 plus real-time projects, including this level 4, level 3, level 2 architecture projects. So all these projects I will be building on my screen. So you will be also building the same projects on your screen parallelly. And every Monday you'll be receiving an access to the recordings of the live session that you attend. And even on weekdays, we do have a program, but it is optional to attend. We call it as a debugging sessions. It can be every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So we'll be conducting this debugging session. Debugging sessions are specific to, let's say you have some bugs, some questions, some more discussions need to be made. You can join the debugging sessions where you can share your screen, where I can assist you with the problem. That's how it's going to work. So basically we are looking forward when it comes to our MLOps specialization program. As I mentioned, this is the program which includes you of 3 different clouds. We'll be covering AWS, Azure, and GCP for MLOps, including the DevOps part that you need to know in terms of MLOps, including open source tools. The hands-on projects will be built on all the clouds. It's a 80 hours program, a 10 weekends program we can consider. There are more than 50 plus hands-on labs, more than 10 plus real-time industry projects. So what do you mean by that? So you might ask the question, so tomorrow if I work on any XYZ organization, Will they be using the same strategies, the same tools that we have used in an organization? Definitely yes. We'll be using the standard tools like SageMaker, Azure Machine Learning Studio, Vertex AI is the tools that is already being used by thousands of organizations across the world for deploying their models to production. Then comes 101 debugging session with me. Okay, saying that, let's get into the final part. What is the pricing for this particular program, right? Okay, we do have 3 different pricings. It's the most interesting part actually. Let's have a discussion on that. Not just one pricing. So when we talk about this particular program, there are 3 different phases. Let me just get to the black screen. So when it comes to our MLOps training, there is a phase 1 and there is a phase 2. So whether you want to be in a phase 1 or a phase 2 is up to your requirements. So what is a phase 1? So phase 1 is just designed for upskilling. Let's say you want to attend the live sessions, and let's say you want to get on recordings. Let's say you want to attend this debugging sessions, right? So you can able to take a phase 1. You're just interested in upskilling only. But when it comes to the phase 2, including a phase 1, so you'll get some additional premium support, right? So let's discuss more about that right now. Okay, so we do have 3 different pricings. We call it as basic plan, advanced plan, and advanced plus. So let's talk about our topmost plan. So our topmost plan, we call it as advanced plus plan, advanced plus. So our advanced plus plan will be costing around 49,999. And we do have our advanced plan, which is a mid plan, which is the most popular one, will be costing 43,999. And we have a basic plan, which is just costing 40,999. So as I'm talking about, our basic plan will be on a phase 1, and our advanced plan will be part of phase 2. Our advanced plus plan will be also part of phase 2. So it depends on the kind of features that you're looking for. Consider that you are only looking for upskilling only. Yeah, definitely you can take a basic plan. You can attend live sessions, access to recordings and debugging sessions, and some community support. So that basic plan is inclusive of advanced and advanced. So basic plan is also included in advanced and advanced plus. That means access to recordings, debugging sessions, live sessions is common in all the plans. Okay, let's go to our advanced plan. So what is there in advanced plan? The premium support that I'm talking about. Most of the working professionals, they prefer to take this. So one is called bonus reattendance opportunity. So what is this bonus reattendance opportunity? Is nothing but by signing up once, you can take our program twice. Consider that you're joining our July batch. Even after you completing a July batch, you can take our October batch again for free. So why do I need 2 times access for this program? The reason is quite this, because 99% of the people who take our programs are working professionals. Sometimes due to their busy working schedule, they might miss few weekends live sessions. So maybe they want to retake those sessions in a live in the next batch. And maybe you need a revisioning of this entire course once again, you want to take it. Or consider that in every new batch that you conduct, there might be some new syllabus update. Maybe you want to learn that reason. Maybe you need to retake that particular program. Then comes people who register for our advanced plan. They get 6 months of technical job support. So what is this technical job support? How does it work? With resume preparation. So consider that most of these folks who join a program, they comes with a different needs here, right? So let's go to the black screen again. So let's say when it comes to this job support that we are talking about, this can be utilized in multiple ways. So one way how our peoples are using, consider that. So let's say you need a support. Let's say you're after completing a program. Let's say you're applying for roles like MLOps engineering, ML engineering, lead positions in MLOps. Let's say you need an assistance in preparing your resumes, right? We will be helping you with that. Or maybe let's say you need an assistance in preparing for interviews, right? So here, not just we will be helping you optimizing your resumes, also your job portals. So let's say it can be Naukri, Indeed, or any job portals that you do have in your country. We'll make sure that the portals are optimized just to make sure that we put right keywords so we can able to get the right quality calls from the organizations. Then the third thing, we call it as JD decoding sessions, where we play a very important role, which is actually really working for my participants. They could able to crack a lot of jobs. So what we do, let's say consider that you have an interview day after tomorrow, after 3 days. before you sitting for a technical round, you'll be sitting for a discussion with me where we will be helping to decode this job description. We'll be giving an insight what kind of a questions they're going to ask you, how you're going to prepare for that. Let's say you have mentioned some of the projects that we have built it during the program. How are you going to deal with that kind of a projects? How are you going to deliver your story? Those kind of stuff, which is really working for our participants. Okay, another way how our peoples are using a job support, consider that you're already working in an organization. Maybe you need some consulting. Maybe you need some sample code, right? Let's say you need some architecture, you need some assistance, right? Or maybe you have some code, you need our help to debug that, right? So you can also use the technical job support for that reason also. Okay, this is what exactly you get it in advanced plan. And if you go to the topmost plan, what we call it as advanced plus, everything in advance is included, but instead of you getting 6 months support, there you get 1 year support. Bonus readiness opportunities there. And the most interesting feature that we do have in advanced plus plan is instant access to recordings. Consider that we do have still around 15 to 17 days to start our program, and it's a 2.5 months program it is, right? Collectively, it's a 3 months, right? So you don't want to wait for 3 months to complete the program. So people who sign up for our advanced plus plan, they get instant access to our previous batch recordings. So we just got over with our previous batch last 3 weekends ago. You'll get complete access to their recordings in next 24 hours itself. That means you can get started with this program in next 24 hours with the support from me, an assistant. So this would be the pricing. And let's say if you need a pricing in USD, our advanced plus plan starts from $749. Our advanced plan will start from $649, and our basic plan will be starting from $599. You have a same features here. Okay, saying that, obviously we do have some surprises because this is our third demo session. We are running some last minute offers for the peoples. So here comes some of the surprises that you can able to grab, especially for the folks who stayed back till the end of this program. Really thank you for that. But this is our third demo session that we are conducting. And so we do have very limited seats. We do have just 3 seats left for this particular program. Yes, only 3 we do have. And we are running this offers till 9th of July. People can get into this, the special offers, the first 3 registrations only. So what is this offer that I'm talking about? Just to make you folks comfortable. So let's say we are running 2 different offers. First option, so you cannot pick all the 3 different offers together. You can able to pick one that really works for you. The first offer, we call it as a free upgradation, but we removed this free upgradation, but based on a lot of requests from the participants, we bringing this free upgradation again. So what is this free upgradation? So consider that most of the folks, they are interested in, definitely, let's say you might be interested in getting into advanced plan or advanced plus plan. But you know that the advanced plan is costing 43,999, but basic plan is costing 40,999 itself. So what is this free upgradation is nothing but, if you're interested in advanced plan, which is costing 43,999, don't register for this. All you need to do, register for a basic plan, which is costing just 40,999. And we will be upgrading you to an advanced plan, which is costing 43,999. So you register for basic, you get advanced. So only for first 3 registrations till 9th of July only. Similarly, let's say you want to register for topmost plan, you want access to the recordings, you want to get started immediately, then go for advanced plan. Don't register for the topmost plan, just register for advanced plan, which is costing 43,999, and we will be upgrading you to the advanced plus plan, which is costing 49,999. So you can save around 6,000 rupees here. When it comes to registering for a basic plan, you get advanced plan, you can save around 3,000 rupees in the registration amount. So this is about a free upgradation offer, but not limited to that. We do have EMI options starting from 1,800 rupees to 2,000 rupees. We do offer an EMI options on your credit card starting from 3 months to 24 months. EMI options are available. Okay, let me just make it more comfortable. Option number 2, no cost EMI, easy EMI, free EMI, how you want to call it. Okay, here are again two different offers. Okay, you want to go for let's say one shot payment. Let's say you don't want to go for EMI. Then we can able to give a 5% price cut. This is only for because it's a last minute registration. So we can able to give you a 5% off on basic plan. That means your price from 40,999 will be scaled down to just 38,950. Or we can give again a 5% off on advanced plan. From 43,999, your price will be scaling down to just 41,899. And on top of advanced plus plan, we can give 10% price cut. From 49,999, your price will be scaling down to just 44,999. It's a one-shot payment that you want to make. Or you're not interested in this, then you want to go for the no-cost EMI or easy EMI or a free EMI that we talk about. Yep, here we go. On our basic plan, we can give the maximum of 3 months no cost EMI. For advanced or maybe advanced plus plan, we can give maximum of 6 months no cost EMI. That means you know how EMI works, right? EMI comes with interest, right? Let's say you're buying a phone of, let's say you're buying a phone that is costing 10K with EMI, then you'll be ending up paying around 13K with the interest, right? But this interest is not included here. So the interest will be borne by Cyton Technologies. You'll be only paying the exact amount. Let's say you'll be going for a basic plan, which is costing 40,999 divided by 3. You'll be paying the installment for next 3 months. That's how it's going to work. So this is our no cost EMI offer. And this is limited to, let's say, the first 3 registrations only till 9th of July. Okay, so why do you think Cyton Technologies is the best people's outside to conduct this MLOps specialization program? Definitely, yes, this is the best program that is available in the market, and we've been there in this market for almost the decades, and we've been supported by Department of Science and Technology India, incubated in PhD STEP, funded by AIR. Then we've been represent ourselves in multiple international stages. But more than this, what's there better than our students talks about us, right? So go ahead and please do check about our testimonials, check our participants' testimonials, how they could able to reach the success, how they could able to crack their jobs. So the various testimonials that can add up more value for you, can feed a more confidence into our trainings, obviously. Yeah, saying about this, why don't we just quickly check out the curriculum, right? So let's get started. Okay, so now let me just open the curriculum. Let's have a quick look on what kind of a curriculum that we do have. Here we go. Yeah, I believe you could be able to see my screen. So I'm going to share the same PDF for you folks, where you can also download this particular PDF. You got every information here that is needed. Like about us, you can learn more about Cyton Technologies and about who can apply the curriculum, the program fee, the testimonials. Let's go to the curriculum. So there are totally, let's say, there are totally 14 modules, 1-4. So what is the module number 1? What we will be covering? So it's an MLOps introduction. So here we'll be getting into all the concepts of the world of MLOps. So more importantly here, we'll be again discussing about the motivation, the challenges, all this stuff. Apart from that, we'll be discussing about, so what is DevOps and what is this AI Ops? What is this Model Ops, LLM Ops, and there is something called FM Ops also, Foundation Model Operations, and GitOps, which is a concept of infrastructure as a code. And the most interesting part in module number 1, we'll be discussing about the production case studies. We'll be taking 5 different organizations. We'll be discussing the CI/CD production case study for all these organizations who might be using AWS, Azure, GCP, and open source. Then comes module number 2. Here we'll be talking about introduction to MLOps stages and ML. We'll be diving deep into the different MLOps stages, like different versionings, testings, automation for CI/CD, reproducibility, deployments, and monitoring. And here comes, we'll be discussing about the architectures, like MLOps architectures in terms of open source tools. How do we use the tools like Kubeflow, Apache Airflow, MLRun, Metaflow, Kedro, ZenML, MLRun, or CML, or MLflow. Then comes how does a cloud architectures look like when it comes to AWS, GCP, and Azure. Then if we go to our module number 3, introduction to Git, This is where we'll be diving into Git, how to use Git-based workflows, how to work with Git repositories, source code repositories like GitHub, something on AWS and Azure. Then comes module number 4, introduction to CI/CD. So this is where we will be covering DevOps that is needed for MLOps, not the DevOps that is needed for you to work in software industry. How do you use the existing DevOps tools for MLOps? So we'll be covering all the 3 clouds, the DevOps tools on top of all the 3 clouds, AWS DevOps tools, one project on AWS DevOps pipelines. We'll be covering all the GCP-based DevOps tools and one project on GCP DevOps pipeline. We'll be covering the complete Azure DevOps suite and one project on Azure DevOps pipeline. Then comes module number 5. We'll be covering a Dockers and Kubernetes from scratch. The Dockers and Kubernetes for MLOps. We'll be covering Dockers from scratch, understanding how to work with Docker commands, how to Dockerize your ML model, how to deploy your Dockerized ML model. Projects will be built on top of it. Then comes Kubernetes. We'll be covering it from scratch, understanding how to work with Kubernetes on premises, Kubernetes on a cloud, and we'll be learning how to deploy a Dockerized ML model on top of it. Followed by that, module number 6, Kubernetes deployment strategies. We do have 2 modules. So here we'll be picking any one of a cloud platform. It can be Amazon-based EKS, Azure-based AKS, GCP-based GKS. For a production view, how we create a clusters on top of it, how we deploy a model so that projects will be built. Then comes module number 7. This is where the introduction to model management tools. Here we cover ML flow. There are 2 projects will be built. The first project will be learning how to deploy an ML flow stack. Then by using that stack, the second project will be how to build, find, deploy your ML models. Then we'll be covering DVC, the hands-on, how to use DVC as a tool for versioning your ML model. Followed by that, module number 8, we do have a separate module for feature stores. We'll be covering all the different kind of feature stores. We'll be discussing about what is SageMaker feature store, Vertex AI, or maybe Databricks, Feast, Upswork, etc. And we'll be using Feast, which is an open source, pretty much famous open source feature store, and we'll be building the complete project on feature store. We'll be building our own online feature store or offline feature store, what we call. Then comes module number 9. So Cloud ML Service 101. This is where we cover 3 different clouds, where we cover this level 4 architecture projects. We'll be covering Azure SageMaker Studio, where we will be learning how to build SageMaker pipelines. One project will be built on top of it. And we'll be learning GCP Vertex AI from scratch, and one project in how to build end-to-end MLOps pipelines on top of it. We'll be covering Azure MLOps. I will be learning how to use Azure Machine Learning Studio, and project will be built on end-to-end MLOps pipeline on top of Azure Machine Learning Studio. Then comes module number 10. Kubeflow is part of our curriculum. Let's say if your organization want to go completely open source, they use tools like Kubeflow. There are 2 projects. First project, how to deploy a Kubeflow infrastructure. Then how to use the Kubeflow infrastructure to build, train, and deploy your ML models. Then comes module number 11. Module number 11. So this program is not just specific to MLOps. We do also cover LLM ops. How do you use MLOps for LLMs for delivering a large language models? Will be also covered in this particular module. Then comes module number 12, introduction to model monitoring. We do have a separate module for monitoring your ML model. We'll be discussing the various different cloud SDKs for monitoring your ML model, and we'll be picking the cloud platform, and we'll be doing one end-to-end project in monitoring your ML models. Then comes module number 13, not limited to open source tools or cloud-based tools. We'll be also discussing about the commercial tools that is outside in the market, like HTO.ai, weights and biases, etc. Then comes module number 14, the final module, the post-deployment challenges. This is where we'll be having a discussion and doing an hands-on projects. After you have your pipelines deployed, models deployed to production, how you monitor your ML model, what are the different challenges that you'll be facing in terms of software engineering, ML engineering, and we'll be also using open source tools like Evidently AI, one of a must-have tool on your resume for monitoring your ML models. So this is the curriculum, a robust curriculum that we do have. And these are the skills that you will be mastering, starting from the DevOps tools, our MLOps tools on top of the cloud platforms like AWS, GCP, Azure, and other MLOps tools like Kubernetes, Azure, AWS, EKS, AKS, or GKE, tools like MLflow, DVC, etc. And these are the list of tools that we will be exploring in this particular program. And you can learn more about this. I mean, you can able to check the pricing structure over here. I mean, this particular curriculum doesn't have a pricing. Let me just open the right one. Yeah, here we go. 1 second. So now let me just share this particular curriculum for you. You can also go ahead and download that. Yeah, so you can find the same curriculum. So the pricing is not available here. The curriculum that you're going to download, you can check the pricing informations. And here you can also go ahead and check the testimonials of our participants. So you can also get some better clarity about our participants, how they could able to succeed in this.
Expert assisted tax filing milegi.
Just
No upfront payment.
Okay, so let me just go ahead and share this particular links to your chat window. Okay, here we go. I have shared the 3 links to your chat window, folks. The first link for registration, the second link where you can able to download the curriculum. So I mean, once you hit the second link, you'll be redirected to the page where you can able to go ahead and download the curriculum. And the third link, as I promised, by clicking on third link, you can able to download the free ebooks. And below is my contact informations. I would do recommend you folks to contact me in those numbers if you need a more clarity and you need more consulting before you sign up for this particular program. Yeah, first link is for the registration. By clicking on the first link, so you can be redirected to the registration platform. So for example, you'll be redirected to this. I'm sorry, 1 second. Yeah, so you'll be redirected to this registration page. Yeah, so here you can also in detail, you can get the informations about our curriculum and other informations. So by clicking register now button, so you can just enter your informations and go to the next page. And here you can able to check the different pricing options that we do have, as we discussed already. So you can, like, let's say we do have 2 different pricing options. If you're from India, if you want to pay it in INR, if you want to pay, if you're from outside India, if you want to pay it in dollars, you do have 2 options. Okay, let's say you want to go for an advanced plan, you want to upgrade to the topmost plan, the advanced plus plan. So all you need to do, click on advanced plan, click on pay now. So here you can just enter your informations and proceed to pay. So once you go to that registration page, so this particular landing page is actually integrated with Razorpay. They are a trusted partners of Razorpay. So here you can able to pick the various different payment options. Let's say if you want to go for a normal EMI, not a no-cost EMI. Exactly, Manoj, that is correct. You will be paying 43,999. We will be upgrading you to the topmost plan, which is costing 49,999. That is exactly correct. So here you can pick any different payment option. You want to go for UPI card, EMI. If you want to go for EMI options, we do support a lot of different credit cards. You can just opt for the different credit card. You can check the EMI option, how much percentage of interest they might be charging. If you want to go for this no cost EMI, easy EMI, right? Yeah, so Manoj, yes. So Manoj is asking a question in the chat window. How can I opt for the no cost EMI? So if you're going to opt for a no cost EMI, you just need to DM me, just ping me in the contact information that I shared in the chat window. So we'll be sharing the dedicated links for the no cost EMI where you can able to get the no cost EMI option. So no cost EMI will be enabled for your card specifically, so you can able to opt for that. Yeah. Okay, saying this, so now let's go back to our demo because our demo is in mid. Then I will be opening the session for Q&A. Then we will talk a lot. You can share, you can unmute your mic, and we can discuss a lot. Okay, let's quickly take a look where is our demo is standing. Okay, you can check my SageMaker console right now. You can see that I'm in the endpoint section, but now you can see that under endpoints, there is a model that we have deployed to staging environment. You can check my the endpoint name. It says demo-July 24 sat-staging. So now my model got successfully deployed to the staging environment. It's in service. Okay, now let me just show you magic. How do I invoke this ML model? So now I can able to make a predictions out of it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the name of my endpoint. So here I have written a very simple script. Okay, here is a Python script that I have written to invoke this ML model. Okay, here we go. Here I'm going to specify my endpoint of my ML model. This is my endpoint name of my ML model. SageMaker July 24 sat staging. And here you can able to see this abalone.single.test. That's the sample input data that I'm going to pass. That's a payload. That's an input data to my model. And here I'm going to invoke my ML model by calling the SageMaker runtime.invoke endpoint. Here I'm going to pass my endpoint name, the data type of my data, then the payload, the input data. Then here I print the response. Basically, you can see the ML model that I've trained previously, I mean, a couple of days ago. The age of that is 8.01. That's the age of an abalone. But now let me just make a predictions of the model that we have trained now. I'm going to save it. I'm going to hit run. Yeah, you can see now we got an age of an abalone. The age of an abalone is 9.48. That's the age of an abalone. So this is actually I'm making a predictions through the model that I have deployed to my staging environment, but not to the production. Still, I need to show you how to deploy your ML model to production. In order to deploy your ML model to production, you need to go to code pipelines. So where is our pipelines are running? So code pipelines is part of DevOps. So here you can able to see that I do have two pipelines. So one pipeline for model building, it got executed successfully. One pipeline for model deployment, which is in progress. Okay, so if I want to approve this ML model to be deployed to production, I will get into this pipeline first. And you will see that I do have three different stages here. Source, where I'm getting a code. Build, where I'm actually building my ML model. Then comes deploying. This is where I'm deploying my ML model to production. So here you can able to see that I have a review button, which I'm going to click in order to review my model and to deploy that to the production. Before review, there's a testing stage. Here you can do a further testing to test your ML model. Okay, now let me just show you how to deploy it. I'm going to hit on this review button. Similar to how I approved my ML model to staging, I have a similar screen. I have an option to approve or reject. I don't want to reject it. I will click approve. Then I will say all okay or all test okay, what are the commands that you need to pass. Then I'm going to hit submit button. That's it. So once I click submit button, again, it's going to take few minutes to deploy my ML model to production. Again, it will deploy to the different machine. So now it is getting ready to deploy this model to production. I can also check the status of my deployment in my SageMaker Studio also. You can see that now if I refresh, it says demo July 24 sat prod is getting deployed. So now my model is creating in the production. Yeah. So this is about this demo. So now I will just go to the quick Q&A. So please make sure you unmute your mic. You can also talk to me. Yes, you can feel free to ask your question in the chat window if you have any questions related to this program, the pricing, the curriculum. So go ahead and ask your question in the chat window. You can also unmute your mic. You can also talk to me. Go ahead. Yep. So let me just, meantime, let me just read out some of the questions in the chat window. Okay, Srinivas asking a question. I'm having a. Okay, so let me just share the links once again to your chat window, folks. I mean, the links. Okay. Okay, so Guruvendra asked, okay, can you share me the details in the email? So definitely I will share you those details to your email. In the meantime, let me just also share those informations in the chat window. So the first link is for the registration. The second link is for where you can able to download the curriculum. The third link for downloading the free ebooks. Okay. Yep. So here we have Srinivas is asking a question. Let me just read out. I'm having a 10 plus years of experience in IT now. I want to shift it to career towards an AI related technologies like MLOps. I have very limited knowledge on programming in MLOps. Does it suits you? Definitely yes. Okay. So like Srinivas was asking a question. So you want to shift it to AI related careers like MLOps. He don't have, let's say, he has a very limited knowledge in programming. Does it really suits you? Definitely yes. So consider that when it comes to, let's say, the MLOps, let's say you're applying for MLOps engineering job role. So as I mentioned, there are various different stakeholders who are part of this particular journey, right? So let me just answer in this perspective actually, right? So consider that there are many different stakeholders. There are data scientists, right? Once again, I'm sorry. Yeah, so there are data scientists, there are data engineers, there are ML engineers, consider that. So not, let's say when it comes to you're going to work as an MLOps engineer, you don't want to be an expert like a data scientist. Let's say having a basic skill set, let's say especially in a Python, for example, would be more than enough. But you don't need an expertise like data scientist. Consider that you're going to say that you want to get into the AI industry, but I want to become a data scientist. Then you need in-depth knowledge of Python programming, statistics, mathematics, algorithms, deep learning, for example, when it comes to a data scientist. But when it comes to MLOps engineers, let's say you're going to become an MLOps engineer, for example. So MLOps engineers are not data scientists. So you won't be building an ML model. Actually, your data science, you'll be having a team of data scientists with you who will be building an ML models. So you'll be collaborating and working with them. So you'll be taking care of building these pipelines, doing an automation, delivering your ML models to different stages and production. But you cannot, but I will definitely not say that if you have a zero programming experience, you can become MLOps engineers. No, definitely not. So having some basic on this MLOps would definitely recommend it. But how do we help in that perspective? So when it comes to MLOps specialization program, so this program is purely on top of MLOps only. So in this MLOps specialization course, we won't be teaching a Python program. No, this is not a Python programming session. We won't be teaching data science or data engineering. This is not the program for that. And even that is not mandate when you are becoming an MLOps engineer. But let me just explain it in this perspective. Consider that you are a DevOps engineer, but there is a software engineer who is building a software. DevOps engineer, you don't make a software. Software engineer is someone who makes a software. And as a DevOps engineer, you take that software, you build it, test it, and then you deliver that to production. That's what you do. But as a DevOps engineer, you cannot say, I have no idea what my software engineer is doing, what kind of a framework he is working on. You definitely need to know. That's how MLOps engineering also works. You don't build ML models, but you need to have an idea how your data scientist is building an ML model for this stuff. But especially I will get this question from DevOps engineers. Sometimes DevOps engineers, they ask this question, okay, Sharat, like still I want to explore some of the data science part. They ask, okay, still I want to, let's say I want to practice some of the Python. I want to gain some basics, or even you want to become an expert in Python. Or let's say you want to learn some basics of data science. Might not be necessary for this program, but still you might be having your own personal interest. Like from recent batches, we started providing something called free add-ons. So we started providing some free add-ons, like as part of this free resources, whether you take basic plan or advanced plan, there is a free add-ons that we provide. So what is this free add-ons is nothing but, so this free add-ons are provided based on a request basics only. What we have in this free add-ons. So in this free add-ons, we'll be sharing, because in our Cyclone Technologies, we don't just teach MLOps. We do have other data science programs where we teach Python and algorithms also, but you don't want to sign up for that. So what we do, we grab some of the resources from there where we will be sharing it over here. So by using these resources, you can learn Python from scratch to, if you want to become advanced, if you want to become an expert, or you want to gain some advanced knowledge in Python, we do have a practice materials so that you can able to practice. So then comes our data science resources also. We will be also giving some access to our pre-recorded sessions on data science, where you can also learn some basics of data science and a deep learning also. So I guess this could be the most benefited part. for the people who have an additional interest, still they want to explore something. So this resources that we give it for free, along with that's again based on a request. Okay. Yep. So, and again, quick word. So we do have just 3 seats available. We don't have more. If you want to climb this offers, as we discussed, the first offer is free upgradation. You register for basic, you will get advanced plan, which is costing 43,999. If you go ahead and register for advanced, which is costing 43,999, you'll be upgraded to the topmost plan, which is costing 49,999. Alternatively, if you're not interested in that, we can able to offer you the price cut, 5% and 5% on our basic and advanced plan, and we can give a 10% price cut and advanced plus plan. That means your final fee will be looking like this. Or alternatively, you can go for a no cost EMI option. That could be the most benefited part. You don't pay any interest. We can give a maximum of 6 months no cost EMI, so you can split the entire payment for the next 6 months. Okay. Yeah. So that could be the answer for Srinivas. So let me just quickly answer some of the questions. You can also unmute your mic. You can also talk to me, folks. That could be another option. 1 second. Yeah. So 1 second. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Now let me just answer another question that is asked in the chat window. So here we have Shibi, sorry if I'm pronouncing your names wrong, I will just pronounce your last name, Khan. I'm a 2017 batch from electronics and communication background. I have 16 years of experience in non-IT experience in teaching industry. Is it easy for me to get into MLOps? Do your companies like? Okay, so like so you are from a teaching experience. I do understand that, but I don't think so. You're from a non-IT background, but okay, here is my thing. So let's say you said you are from a non-IT background, but let's say as you are a teaching professional, just make sure that if you have some technical skill sets into Python, or maybe if you have learned something related to data science, data engineering, any related stuff, DevOps, then definitely this would definitely works for you, Khan. But let's say if you're going to say that I have a zero programming experience, I have no idea about programming, I have no idea about IT, then this is not suitable for you. But as a teaching professional, if you are coming from a background of, okay, you do understand the programming languages, if not Python, any programming languages, right? You do understand some processes in IT, software development, DevOps, or data engineering, or even a data science would definitely help you. Okay, we have a question from Vinay. So Vinay says, I have a total of 4 years of experience in IT in my career. I worked as 2.5 years of DevOps and no basic coding experience. With the course will help me to grab the job. Should I experience? Okay, should I need experience to get in jobs in MLOps? Please share. So Vinay, definitely for DevOps engineers, MLOps can be the perfect fit. I will tell you why. Because DevOps engineers has an advantage of carry forwarding, because you said, do I need to have some experience in working for MLOps? You do have an experience already. You have a 2.5 years of experience in DevOps. You can demonstrate that in an interview saying that you have a 2.5 years of experience in DevOps. That would be definitely helpful for you to get into MLOps. How? Because as a DevOps engineer, you're already coming with an experience of understanding automation in terms of CI/CD pipelines, testing, or maybe the source code version. So that is pretty much common in MLOps. But what you might be lagging in terms of MLOps would be the additional tools. MLOps and DevOps is completely different. But how we use other tools here, like the code versioning tools, data versioning tools, model registries, model monitoring tools, those kind of tools, after you upskill in that, definitely could be an added advantage. So once you say that you don't have much programming experience, maybe the additional add-ons that we provide definitely can able to help you, Vinay. Okay, in this perspective, I would like to share some of our testimonials of our participants, which can really feed you the confidence. So you can also check other testimonials also. I would like to mention, there are so much powerful testimonials, but I want to mention this always. So her name is Dipali. She has taken our previous batches, if I'm not wrong, the January batch, I believe, January or last September batch. Her name is Dipali. She is not from IT background. If you do, like, she is her bachelor's are from mechanical engineering. She studied mechanical engineering and she did work as a mechanical design engineer for a couple of years. Then she transformed into digital marketing. So she's coming, she again, that is not related to IT at all. So she's in a marketing domain. But she had a dream of, okay, she want to get into the data science. She started exploring some data science and she could able to land in a very small, in a very small startup job. And when she is landing into some startup, but still she's not working as a full-fledged data scientist, because for you to become a data scientist is going to take a lot of time. But what Dipali is doing, that startup, she is working on a deployment side of a model. She is focusing on packing a model, deploying the model to the different stages. Not the complete automation, but she is working on the deployment side of her models. But obviously she is lagging in a lot of skills, and she is getting an average of, if I'm not wrong, 7 to 8 lakhs per annum. That's the average salary she is getting. But she did take our program, that is MLOps Specialization program. After completing a program, so she could able to crack the job, and currently she is getting a 15 lakhs per annum. This is a one testimonial. I would definitely say that the people's from non-IT background, after so much hard work, she could able to land with an average salary of 15 lakhs per annum. Just imagine then what you can able to do is already coming from an IT background. So if I throw another testimonial, his name is Sandeep. He's already a data scientist. He's a senior data scientist. You know, an average salary of a senior data scientist in India, it's somewhere it's between 30 to 35 lakhs. But he is really good at data science. He's really good at building models. But he has no idea in terms of deploying an ML models for production, doing an automation. He did take our program in our previous batches, and he could able to crack the job. And he got an 100% hike. Just imagine, if it is 30 lakhs, it has become 60 lakhs for him. If it is 35, 70, 75. So we do have testimonials like that also. But always I want to represent the testimonials of Dipali. When Dipali could able to do it, I guess Vinay, you can able to do it, as Srinivas can able to do it, right? Yeah. Okay. We have another question from Neeraj. Let me read it. So Neeraj is asking. A question. So can a data engineers with MLOps knowledge can easily replace the DevOps engineers in MLOps? No, that's a wrong question, Neeraj. MLOps is not only for DevOps engineers. Definitely not. Not DevOps. It's not a word saying only DevOps engineers can become MLOps engineers. Definitely not. Even a data engineer can become MLOps engineers. Data analysts or data scientists can also become MLOps engineers. Any software professionals, they can get into MLOps. So MLOps is most of a tool based, but we'll be also using a programming like let's say Python would be Python basics would be necessary. In that terms, yes, data engineers can also become MLOps. There is no word that you can replace DevOps engineers. DevOps engineers are also similar to what you're doing, but DevOps engineers has no idea about MLOps. But there is one added advantage for DevOps engineers. They already familiar with CI/CD and let's say the source code versioning. But I will tell you what is the advantage for data engineers. As a data engineer, you are really aware about how to build data pipelines, doing ETL, are playing with the data and versioning the data, but not DevOps engineers. They have their own advantage. You also have your own advantage. Okay, saying this, thanks Neeraj for asking the question. Please let me know if you have any more questions. You can unmute your mic. You can also talk to me. Sorry, yeah, you can unmute your mic. You can also talk to me. I'm going to spare a few more minutes. Okay, so Manoj is asking a question, sir. So we know cloud is costly for a practice. Meanwhile, AWS free trial is the most part of, but also okay, like yeah. So what happens? I got your question, Manoj. So Manoj is asking, let's say when we are doing an hands-on, what about the clouds? Are we going to use our own cloud platform? Definitely yes. So when it comes to every cloud, they offer a free trial. So when it comes to AWS, they provide 1 year free trial. Azure and GCP, they offer credits for months for you to explore those cloud platforms. So that would be more than enough actually. In some other terms, few services in this cloud platforms, they are free for 1 year, even when it comes to Azure or GCP. So I guess that would be more than enough for you to explore and build the projects in this particular program. And even after completing this program, let's say you want to explore those cloud, I mean, you want to use those cloud platforms for building your own project, that would be more than enough. And even people will be having a fear, okay, what happens if we get any bills? That's not a problem. Basically, there are tricks and ways that we can able to use to clear this bills off. This is not a first time that we are conducting this program. So each and every time, so our participants, they do create their own cloud accounts to get started. Manoj. That would be more than enough, actually. Okay, let me know if you have any more questions. Unmute your mic. You can ask me the question.
Sharath, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. So may I know your name and let's get started.
Srinivas.
Yes, Srinivas, go ahead.
No, I just have a basic question. So when will the recordings be available?
You mean the MLOps Specialization program, the recordings?
Yeah, today's recordings.
Okay, you mean the today's demo session recordings. So today's demo session recording, we getting it by tomorrow morning. Or what you can do is we already host our, like the previous Saturday's demo session recordings in this link itself. You can start accessing it. So, but today's recordings, you'll be receiving it by tomorrow morning. Or if you want to get started immediately, you can go to this link demo.cytontech.com. You can start watching the demo from our Saturday's batch. But in a Saturday's batch, we won't be having these offers that we discussed. In Saturday's batch, we had only the free upgradation offer. But these new offers are only available for starting from today till 9th of July only. Yeah. So today's recordings, you'll be receiving it. Yeah. So you can also tomorrow if you go ahead to the same link, you can able to access the today's recordings.
This conference will now be.
Yeah, here are recordings is from last Saturday. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
No,
So
I'll go through the recording only. So I'll wait for it. Wait for it to get uploaded.
You can check the same link tomorrow. Tomorrow's recordings will be updated. Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead, folks. I will spare a few more minutes. If you have any questions, go ahead and unmute your mic and let's have a conversation. Okay, in the meantime, you folks ask a question. So let me just go ahead and play some testimonials. So you can also just scroll down to the same landing page that we do have for this program. I would recommend you to watch these demo sessions that we do have from various previous participants. I would also recommend you to scroll down here. You can also find the testimonials, the people's after getting a certification. They also do share it in a LinkedIn. They share a message. You can also reach out to these people's if they are available. You can also chat with them. You can also check like how the experience in this program. Yeah. So this is the words they also share from the program. So here is the organization. It's an organization called Bit Matrix. We have a team of people from this organization. They attended our program and other individuals. You can also check those things in detail by going to this page, or you can also check these testimonials in the PDF itself. In a PDF itself, you can able to check these testimonials. Yeah. Okay, saying that, we just play any one of our testimonial participants. I don't know whether it is audible for you, but I'm just playing it.
So maybe you can just give some idea about what is the company that you applied for, so then we can talk about the ML engineering job role, what they're asked for you.
So I applied for the AML role for artificial/machine learning engineer.
Okay.
So there also cloud part also there. So
Okay.
they require CloudGuard and Docker.
Okay.
So they asked me question related to Docker,
Okay.
which is to Kubernetes.
Mm-hmm.
And on basis of AWS, they asked me the full CI/CD pipeline, how it works, and how one question is how we stop CI/CD pipeline. What is the procedure for stopping?
Okay,
It is
okay.
possible manually or not.
Okay.
So that type of, or they tell me how to deploy from dev to production.
Okay.
How can you deploy? Such type of question they ask me in that interview.
Okay.
So I do all the questions with the help of your teaching on this.
Perfect. I'm really happy for that. Okay. So I'm really, really happy for that. That's good. So what's the company name that you mentioned?
So SA Technologies.
SA Technology. So based out of?
In Mumbai.
Mumbai. Perfect. So you're also from Mumbai, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
that's good. That's good. So now you're asking questions. So now you have a 20 days of time.
Yes.
So the joining date. So you're asking, okay, can I able to apply for other job roles like MLOps
Yes.
engineer or something?
Yes.
Definitely. Please do apply. So even if you get a better package, yes, why not, right? So you can also look for the better opportunity. So please go ahead, as you usually do, apply for this jobs and share as a job description if you need any insights on that. I'm very much happy to provide that. Okay. Yeah, so that's really awesome. And is there any other questions that you need to ask?
Okay,
So okay, go ahead. Yeah.
now onward from tomorrow today, I apply based on the month.
Hello, Rahul. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so that's why I called you regarding that. Can I call or can I apply now on full-fledged on for MLOps?
Yeah. Please proceed. Still we have to cover a few more things.
Okay, so like Rahul, like he already got a job. Like most of the people, what they do is, so they go ahead and register for the topmost plans. I mean, whether through upgradation or maybe they directly register for the topmost plan. I mean, I'm talking about the advanced plus plan. So they get an access to the recordings. So what folks they do, they don't wait for till we complete the program. They start going to the recordings. They started attending the live sessions parallelly. And so in Rahul, like he could able to crack the job. Like we've been in a situation like we are completing around 70 to 80% of curriculum. But AWS part, most of the things has been covered, but he could able to crack the job. And he has a 20 days of joining time. So he's asking, can I apply for the more jobs? Yes, definitely. Why not, right? Even if you're going to get a better opportunity. Similar to that, a lot of testimonials, go ahead and listen to it. So Isa Balasubramanian, he's an ex-ISRO engineer. He taken a program. He could also crack the job. And we evaluate all the participants into 3 terms. How is the training? How is the hands-on? Whether you could able to enjoy it, whether it is not bored. So those things, and the doubt clearing, the hands-on, the in-depth understanding of those things. And post completion of the program, how we are offering a support. One is this job description decoding session, helping you prepare for an interview, mock interviews, for example, if you need. So those kind of stuff actually. Yeah. So saying this, once again, let me just share the links in the chat window. So we do have just 3 seats left for this entire program, and we are giving the last minute offers. So one is a free upgradation. Say all you need to do, go ahead and register for basic, so you can get the advanced plan, which is costing 43,999. Or go ahead and register for the advanced plan, and you'll be getting the topmost plan upgradation. Otherwise, you can opt for one price cut offer, the 5% off on both basic and advanced, 10% off on advanced plan, and you can get the no cost EMI. But please make a note, you cannot climb all these offers together. You can climb one offer that suits your requirements. So thank you so much for sparing your time. I really appreciate. I believe you enjoyed this particular program for the 2 hours. I guess it's been more than 2 hours. If you have further questions, go ahead and contact me with the details that I've shared in the chat window. So I believe this offers might not, the seats might not be available for so many days. I guess it won't be available till 9th of July. You can take an actions accordingly. Just ping me if you need any personal consulting before you take the program. Yeah, I will be available for a call even after completing this today's session. Thank you so much. Let's connect back again in our live sessions. You have further details, just feel free to ping me. I will be a trainer for this specialization program. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend.